Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, Reading with the Crew, episode 57.
Thank you so much there, Jack61, and a warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us, and it's great to see all of you guys here. My name is Dr. Silkman, and I'm from the Foul Play team, and I'm from Adelaide, South Australia, and it's a beautiful day outside. And guys, we're not going to waste any time today. We have a cracker of an episode for you guys, and what I like to do is to first of all welcome my esteemed panel. Thank everyone for joining us. And first of all, I'd like to welcome Jack. Jack, how are you coming along, good buddy?
Doing pretty good there, Doc, from Southwest Michigan in the United States. It's, as you can see, I've kind of moved over back to Cuss Road. I've kind of been staying there for the last little while. Anyway, doing pretty good. Been busy, of course, but got the third batch of Jody calls done last week.
Yes.
Got one more batch. I think there's 20 something in that last batch that I'm working on, and I'll get them uploaded here in the next, I don't know, week or two.
Yep.
Give everybody a chance to kind of go through. Yeah, I just didn't want to. I think there's like 80 calls in that this last batch we got, and I just didn't want to punish everyone with dumping that many at one time. So I thought I'd do a little bit different this time, scattering them out, spread them out.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yep.
I got so many notifications. I thought I'd won the cross lotto there with the ding, 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 ding.
That's right. Won the lottery. Anyway, want to welcome everyone on the panel and certainly everyone in the live chat. Thanks for coming. And this should be a good one.
Beautiful. Thank you so much there, Jack61. A warm welcome to Just Rhonda. How are you coming along?
Hi, Doc. I'm doing okay. And thank you for the warm welcome. We need it here because it's really cold and snowing. Anyway, yeah, just looking forward to hearing what you guys have planned today. And I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Just Rhonda. Next, we have Katie. Katie, welcome.
Hey, hello. Good to be here. Welcome to everyone in chat as well. I, too, am looking forward to getting started. Let's go.
Awesome. Thank you so much there, Katie. Next, we have my partner in crime. We put this podcast together. We have Neverly. Neverly, how are you coming along?
Hello, Dr. Silkman and everybody on the panel and in the chat. I'm doing great. Looking forward to this episode. I missed the last one because I went on a long weekend somewhere and I came back. Beautiful day over here, sunny, kind of chilly, and I'm home ready for this podcast to begin. And as I said, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. And welcome. Good to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And next we have, I don't recall. How are you coming along?
I'm doing well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reading with the Crew.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And Jack61, if we can have the very first slide. And just Rhonda, do you see everyone in chat? Do you see who's in chat?
I do see everybody in chat.
Yep. Can you please call out who's joined us so far?
I would love to. Okay, starting with Jack from the panel, Trav, Gloria, Passive Bear, Anthony Hills in all his glorious patience. Rhonda SD, it is so great to have you back, Rhonda, or have you here. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Welcome.
And we miss you. Yeah. Pete Moss and Clive Coolidge, Master Cedar. I don't recall. Also on the panel, Crime Vault. Hello, JD. Sila 442, Nan's Life 7. Great to have you back. Grandmas and Jazznaz. And Jazznaz always reminding everyone to please like and share the video.
Fantastic.
Colette, yeah, he always does. Never fails. Colette M and Joffrey 3. Hello. Big shout out to Joffrey 3. I feel horrible. I can't remember if it's a male or a female. I'm a terrible person.
Joffrey is a man.
A man? Okay.
Yeah.
Been a great, huge support of Daniel's lately, and really has some great questions and a lot to. He's really interested in learning about the case, so we appreciate that. And let's see, Donna. Hey, Donna, great to see you back. Share. Foul Play, who is Neverly, who is also on the panel. And I don't think I've missed anyone. So welcome to all of you. It's great to have you all here.
Awesome. Thank you so much there, Just Rhonda. And again, guys, a big warm welcome and thank you so much. As you know, guys, what we're going to be doing is continuing our Reading with the Crew series, where Neverly and I have put together the new chapter from John Ferak's book, The Wrecking Crew. And we hope all of you guys purchase the book. I purchased the ebook version. And we're going to be covering the new material. And it's become pretty obvious that there are a lot of points that we'll be covering in addition to the material covered in this new chapter. And the new chapter is entitled New Witnesses Emerge. And those witnesses, of course, are both Tom Sawinski and Tom Baresh. And we'll be definitely going into those within the series of podcasts. And everyone here on the Foul Play team wants to say a big thank you. It's amazing that the Reading with the Crew podcasts have been well received. We've got a lot of fantastic feedback and a lot of questions, and everyone here on the panel, and including myself, we go through your questions and try and answer them the best that we can, and things like that. And we've got a lot of good feedback. And I think on average, they're approaching about 1,000 views, which is awesome. And again, guys, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. There's clearly a lot of interest in this type of material, and for good reason too, as we'll discuss in a second. So what we're going to be doing, guys, in this particular chapter, in this particular podcast, really based on from all the excellent questions that we got last week. This week, what we're going to be doing in the podcast, apart from continuing our reading with the chapter, we're going to actually have a look at a possible plausible explanation why Bobby Dassey didn't see the interaction between Stephen Avery and Teresa Halbach at her RAV4. This is absolutely quintessential that we sort this out, because there's no doubt, and you'll see that this is a big sticking point. If Kathleen Zellner ever gets her day in front of a judge, this particular area or aspect of the case is going to be argued, and it's absolutely critical, especially what Ken Kratz has done in terms of Bobby Dassey's trial testimony when he was in Stephen Avery's trial, exactly what Bobby Dassey actually said. So we're going to investigate that. That's very, very important. The next thing is, I reread Bobby Dassey's trial testimony last week. And again, you're not going to believe this, but there are many vital clues from Bobby Dassey, what actually Bobby Dassey said in the trial testimony that most of us have all missed. Don't worry, we're going to be covering that and putting it all together to generate a potential picture of what actually took place when Teresa arrived at the Avery salvage yard to take photographs of his mother's van. And finally, we're going to be looking at potentially a very important eyewitness, and that's the propane tank driver. And the question we're going to ask is, did he actually see Teresa's RAV4 drive right past him? Right? We're going to be asking that question and coming up with some possible solutions. So again, guys, please, today's episode is episode 4 in the podcast series. And please, if you like what we do, please subscribe. Put your DNA on the thumbs up button if you appreciate our podcast, not only Reading with the Crew, but the excellent and fine work that Jack 61 and others do in Open Mic and other podcasts. Incredible series of podcasts that Jack 61 and the team puts together. Huge amount of work. And as you know, Jack 61 and others spend a lot of time FOIAing documents, right? We have a very extensive website. There's no paywall. Anybody, doesn't matter what side of the fence you sit on, come along, get any document that you want, as long as it's in the library, read, do your own research, come up with your own conclusions. And I'll tell you what, everyone here on the Foul Play team, we would love to see you guys do a podcast, right? Go for it. It's all there. Also, our YouTube channel, I think we have close to over 3,000 videos. So there's a lot of information. Not only have we covered this case, we've covered many cases as well. So please come and join us. And please share our podcasts. The more people that can watch them, the more people that can comment, the better. Thank you so much. Jack 61, can we have the next slide, please? Thank you, guys. All right, so we put up this disclaimer here, of course, because we don't own the rights. All the material that we're covering belongs to John Ferak. This is from his book. So we're going to be providing commentary and also for research and education purposes. So we place up this disclaimer for copyright material. Jack 61, can we have the next slide, please? Now, I'm not going to read through all of this, but it is very important to realize that, guys, we're going to be providing our own commentary, our own opinions, and speculation. And we'll tell you when we're speculating, right? Now, the important thing, of course, to remember is that speculation is not fact. That's very important. But hey, we'll be looking at various scenarios. We'll be looking at the pros and cons of various scenarios. So we will definitely tell you when we are speculating, right? Speculation is not facts. And that's very, very important. So the other important thing is, guys, it doesn't matter if you have different opinions to us. No one is criticizing anybody for having their own opinions. If you believe in the guilt of Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey, that's fine. That is fine. If that's the conclusions that you've come up with, that's fine. Both of them are in prison and likely for life. I know that Stephen Avery, at this stage, at this rate, will never get out of prison. And if Brendan Dassey eventually gets out of prison, he's going to be an old man. But, however, if both of these gentlemen are indeed innocent, they don't belong in prison and they deserve a fair trial. Now, if you're a student of these two particular cases, you'll notice that a lot of the evidence that has been gathered by the crime scene unit and by the investigators is indeed extremely troubling in many, many aspects. And we've discussed this and debated it for many, many years now. If this case was clear-cut, none of us would be here. And I'm sure I'm not speaking out of term. We will be looking at another case, right? We're here to find out the truth. And that's very important. But at the end of the day, and as Jack 61 and others on the panel have said many times, guys, it's important that you do your own research. And everyone has a presumption to innocence, of innocence. And that includes, of course, Bobby Dassey. And I'm sure I'm echoing the words of everyone on my panel and in chat. We are not accusing anyone of any nefarious activity. Right? We're not a team of lawyers, although I don't recall Cherie is an attorney, and none of us are legal experts, right? We're just providing our opinions. And on occasion, as just Rhonda said last week, we speculate, and speculation is not facts. The only thing that we ask, guys, is please be civil and respectful in your comments. Please don't try and hijack the discussion. And please be mindful of the fact that sometimes Barb Tadich comes into chat to provide her wisdom and what she knows from her perspective about the case. Thank you so much, Jack61. Do we have any comments so far, or can we go on to the next slide?
We can go on.
We
People
can
are
go on.
thanking us for great work. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, guys. And of course, we do this for the memory of Teresa Halbach. That's why I'm here. That's why everybody else is here on the panel. We want to find out the truth, good, bad, or otherwise. And we do this for the memory of Teresa Halbach. She passed away, was brutally murdered at a tender age of 25 years. It was a shocking, shocking crime. We want to find out what actually happened that horrible, horrible day. Thank you. Jack61, if we can have the very next slide, please. All right. Guys, do we have any comments at all so far? We're all good?
I
We're all
have
good.
one. I have just one thing to say. Remember, everyone, if you have a question, please put a Q in front of it so it can be highlighted and we can get to it. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
We'll,
all right.
we'll try to be better this week without and not miss those like we did last week. I again apologize.
Ah, not at all. Not at all. Thank you so much, Jaswanda.
And Jasnas had a really nice comment. He said, regardless of guilt or innocence, a lot of messed up things happen with the investigation that makes the verdict unsafe.
100% correct. 100% correct. Yep. And again, that's why, guys, we're going over this very, very carefully, and we're trying to use as many official sources as possible with a minimum of speculation. All right. So if we have a look at this particular slide over here, slide E1, what's critical here? And guys, there's no doubt that this will be up front and center in any discussion in front of a judge by Kathleen Zellner. And that is that Bobby Dassey did not see the encounter between Teresa and Stephen. So according to Stephen's narrative, Stephen saw Teresa Halbach drive up the gravel driveway, get out of her RAV4. She parked her RAV4 very close to Barb Yunder's van. She got out of her RAV4, took several photographs of the van, started to write down, I believe, a VIN number or a serial number, and she started to turn towards Stephen Avery's trailer, going in that direction. Stephen, on seeing Teresa starting to walk towards him, got out of his trailer, met up with Teresa, and according to Stephen, now remember, this is Stephen's truth. According to what Stephen said, he had paid Teresa Halbach $40 for the actual photo shoot. He didn't want a receipt, and that's happened to him before. He followed Teresa Halbach to her RAV4. Teresa Halbach sat inside her RAV4, and she, I think, went to the passenger side of her RAV4, got a Auto Trader magazine, handed it over to Stephen Avery, and Stephen went back to his trailer. That's important. That's the narrative as constructed by Stephen, as stated by Stephen Avery, right? All right. Now, Kratz had questioned Bobby Dassey during the Stephen Avery trial, and Bobby was asked several questions. These are very important questions. Bobby Dassey was asked, and I'll repeat it, was there anybody with her at that time? Bobby said, no. Bobby was also asked, was there anybody outside or making contact with her outside by the vehicle? Again, Bobby Dassey said no. Now, the implications of this are very, very simple. What Kratz wanted you to believe, in fact, the jury and the judge to believe, that this interaction never took place. Remember, Bobby never saw Stephen and Teresa Halbach together. So Kratz, not Bobby, Kratz placed the notion that Teresa Halbach was inside Stephen Avery's trailer, likely inside the trailer. But you'll see that once we go through Bobby Dassey's testimony, another possibility could have easily taken place. So the question here, guys, is it possible that both Bobby and Stephen are actually telling the truth? i.e., Bobby never saw the encounter. There must be a reason why. And Stephen actually did interact with Teresa Halbach and receive a copy of the Auto Trader magazine. So can there be a simple, non-nefarious answer to this enigma, right? That Kratz, not Bobby Dassey, that Kratz is trying to sell and push to the jury and to the judge, no judge, this interaction never took place. Teresa is inside Stephen's trailer being held against her will. And I'll prove to you that both Bobby and Stephen could indeed be telling the truth. This is a critical point of the case. Guys, do we have any questions so far?
I don't see any questions.
Okay, Neverly.
Jasnaz again had a great point, which was that the state can, the state can say whatever they want in each trial, but how can you reconcile both to get the truth if you're saying Teresa got killed in 2 different locations? I chimed in and said at the 2 different times, and Nan's life said, and in 2 different ways. So go figure.
Correct. And Anthony Hill asked the question, how long does Bobby observe Teresa to describe what she was wearing, yet not see any interaction? That's an excellent question. And there actually is a very simple answer to that. And once you actually see the trial testimony, the penny will drop, right? So here's the dilemma, right? And Anthony just beautifully pointed it out. Wait a minute. So Bobby Dassey sees Teresa long enough to describe what Teresa was wearing, yet doesn't see the interaction, right? So that's a very, very interesting question. And Joffrey 3, does somebody want to read out the question of Joffrey 3?
Sure. Joffrey 3 is asking, does the panel believe Teresa left the salvage yard alive? And if so, based on what evidence?
Okay. What does the panel think? Who's got a comment? Jack
Well, this is a loaded question, but yeah, I think she left just based on how everything else could have went down in this very short amount of, very public, very short amount of time, right? So, you know, if you just, let's just break just one little aspect down. We know that there's blood on the inside of that cargo door. Now, where did that come from? Was Teresa at the back of her RAV doing something, and Stephen walked out with a hammer and smacked her right there in front of, right here in the open? Anyone could have been on that salvage yard looking for a part and observed this. I mean, there's just, that's just one aspect. Stephen said she left, and he saw her turn left on State Highway 147. Now, is it possible that something else happened after she drove away from the trailer down towards the front of the Avery salvage yard? I don't know. But based on what I've observed, just me personally, I can't prove it, but just from what I've observed of what we know, yes, I think she left. I just don't think it's possible that these other events could have happened right there. I just don't believe it. I don't see it either.
Yep. That's a really good point. Does anybody else have any comments? That's an excellent question, by the way, Joffrey. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Who on the panel? In fact, that's a good question we can ask in chat. Who believes that Teresa Halbach actually left the Avery salvage yard, and who believes that both her and her RAV4 never left the Avery salvage yard? Just wonder, what do you believe? Do you believe that Teresa left or she was still there?
I believe that Teresa left, and full transparency, I don't have a reason or a theory or some big major idea of why. I believe she left the salvage yard, and that's my answer. That's all I can give.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jaxie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's one more thing that I need to add into this that is another real quandary for me personally, and it's the zipper voicemail that never made it anywhere publicly. And there's a reason for that. That's what I believe. I can't prove it, but to me, if it helped Kraut's case at all, that recording would have been played over and over and over. And it's gone. We've tried for years to get it. Kathleen Zellner's tried to get it from Calumet and Manitowoc. Nobody, I don't have it. You need to check over it. Nobody has it. Well, why the hell not? What happened to it?
Yeah. Put it this way. There's no way that the state is going to lose inculpatory evidence, correct?
No way. That's right.
there's no way.
I agree. It again, it questions the investigation and the actions of law enforcement because the law enforcement aspect of it is to gather the evidence, not taint it, not twist it, and sure as hell not lose it and present it to the prosecutor. That's their function.
Yep.
And we see something. I see something different than that function in this case. Both cases, actually. Yep.
Very, very interesting. Thank you so much there, Jaxie. Did I ask you, Katie, whether you believe that she left or that she remained on the property?
I've always believed that she left, but what did those cell phone towers indicate? I can't remember.
I've only done a little bit of research on the pings, and I know that Big Jeff is much more of an expert on the phone pings than what I am. Because remember, we're talking about 2005 technology. You don't have the precise location that you have now with all the GPS and other electronics. So it's a bit controversial about the phone pings and exactly where her phone pinged, her last ping. I know that Kathleen Zellner pushes the notion that the last cell phone tower ping was, I think it was the White Lord Tower.
13 miles away.
Which placed her actually close to Cuss Road. I think it was County Highway Q, somewhere in that area, around the Cuss Road area. But
That's
again,
right.
It's controversial, and I'm not a cell phone tower expert. But yeah,
Well, maybe she had a wooden pallet and some peat moss in the back of her RAV4, and she stopped by there and unloaded it.
Be
like
careful now.
illegal dumping or something.
And a shovel. She had to bury it, of course. Yeah.
Oh,
Correct.
yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, and even though that the state believed that nothing happened at Cuss Road, I'm not of that opinion. Again, I'm only speculating. But the other thing that we need to take into account is that Teresa Halbach may have driven to this location on her own will. We mustn't forget that. She could have driven there on her own will. We don't know why she would go in this particular area, whether it was to do a hustle shot or she was forced to go in that area there. But these are all the questions that will be brought up in front of a judge. And I'm loving it.
And they didn't try to capture any of her text messages, and that to me that's a huge deal. Why not?
Correct.
I'm not saying Manitowoc or Calumet maybe would have thought of that, but certainly state agents knew about the technology, and they have. There's just no doubt, and they didn't even attempt to do it, and that's another problem. And she could have gotten a text message that says, "Hey, whatever," and she went that direction. We don't know.
The other thing, of course, that's highly suspicious was the phone that was found. I think it was near Twin River, which was just very, very close to where the RAV4 was sighted at the turnaround. Right, the burner phone, the so-called burner phone.
Oh, the one they lost.
I think magically disappeared And I know that Big Jeff did a lot of work on that, and there was a lot of cadaffle. They got a serial number wrong, and they made all these other mistakes. So, you know, and again, it was found by Campion, and of course, Pam of God found a phone there as well. And who came across and photographed it? Andrew Colbert. Right? Yeah. So it's all these, and these are fantastic questions. They're unsolvable, and they need to be addressed in front of a judge. Neverly, what's your opinion? Do you believe that Teresa left or stayed behind?
I believe she left alive. And as somebody in the chat, the chatters are, I think 100% of people are saying that they believe that she left. Anthony Hills and another person said the White Law cell tower. And somebody said they believe that because there is no corroborating evidence that she was ever, that she ever stayed in the trailer, in the garage, and so forth. So yeah, I believe that too.
Okay. Thank you very much, Neverly. What about yourself? I don't recall.
I believe she left, and like Neverly said, there's no reliable evidence that she was killed or on Avery Salvage Road. Everything that they presented was very suspect.
Yep. Very, very interesting. Well, I'm going to say something very controversial. I believe she did drive away from the area. From that area. After that, I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened. But my belief is that she did drive away from that area, and so did Bobby Dassey. What happened after that, we don't know. But there's a couple of very interesting clues. And Jack 61 nailed it. It's what happened at the back door of Teresa's RAV4. That's it. And also Joffrey asked an excellent question about, hey, what about the blinker light? No one, absolutely no one recalls seeing a broken blinker light. And it's interesting that none of the investigators, neither Fassbender nor Wiegert, even asked Brendan Dassey about the broken blinker light, right? And I know this is according to Stephen, and I think they also asked Stephen Schmidt, did he notice anything different on the RAV4? Now, please double check it. No one had said, the broken blinker light, I noticed that her car was damaged. Now, if Teresa is a very proud person, I believe that she is, right? And she's into photography, and she was really, really happy to get that car. I don't believe she'll be driving around with a broken blinker light. For a start, it's probably an offense to drive with a broken blinker light, right?
It is.
It's definitely an offense. The police will pull her over. She's got a broken blinker light. Jack 61 nailed it. And that, to me, is what made me believe, and also other evidence, that Teresa had actually driven away alive, that she drove away alive. There's no doubt about it. What is crucial is what happened to her RAV4. The answer to Teresa's demise is on the RAV4, right? The blood that's on the back door panel was not as a result of Teresa being flung in the back of her car. It's not, because the blood drops go straight down. The blood hit at 90 degrees, straight on. Kathleen Zellner's blood experts showed that the only way you're going to get that is if you're being bludgeoned by some type of blunt instrument, some type of instrument like a hammer or something heavy. We have that unfiled search warrant that talks about the blunt and bloody object. And Jack 61 will tell you, I don't know where it is. No one knows where it is.
Nope.
Right? No one, not even Brendan Dassey, mentions that they bludgeoned Teresa Halbach. Quite clearly, if Stephen had bludgeoned Teresa Halbach with some blunt and bloody object, he probably killed her then and there. So how in the hell do you now fit Brendan's narrative that Teresa Halbach was pinned up in a bed? It makes no sense. So if Stephen had committed this crime, it could not have been on the Avery salvage yard. If Stephen killed Teresa Halbach, it could not have been on the Avery salvage yard. It couldn't have been, because if you get bludgeoned with a hammer or a blunt, bloody object, you're going to shed blood. You're going to shed blood. You're going to drop blood. They brought in human remains detection canines, several of them. They brought them around Stephen's trailer, right around the circumference of the trailer, and next to the van. There were no hits. That means that there was no blood or tissue or skin or hair, nothing on the ground that the canines detected, which means that somehow, and Zellner knows it, and the state know it too, the broken blinker light, the blood on the inside of the back door is part of the murder narrative. They've got no idea. Furthermore, and I've argued with state advocates for ages, A23 is not Stephen, is not Brendan. Otherwise, it would have been stated that they couldn't be excluded. So you've got blood on the back door, the very back door knob that you need to turn and open to put in Teresa Halbach in the back of her own RAV4. And guys, you back me up, Teresa's blood is in the back of the RAV. So her head, her bleeding head, likely touched the plastic panel. Guys, put two and two together. She was knocked out, bludgeoned, and driven somewhere. That's not even speculating. That's exactly what happened. Otherwise, you'll have to believe the state scenario where Brendan and Stephen picked up Teresa Halbach in the garage, threw her in the back of her RAV and thought, nah, let's take her back out again. And we're going to cremate her instead. What's Stephen building this fire for? A last 3-second change in plans that they're now going to dismember Teresa Halbach, which Brendan Dassey never even mentions and contradicted himself, right? So just use a bit of logic and common sense. The evidence in the RAV4 suggests that Teresa Halbach was surprised behind her own RAV4, bludgeoned, beaten, and thrown into the back of her own RAV4 and driven somewhere.
You know, Doc, speaking of the RAV4, you know, you were talking about it and the broken blinker. Remember, the 10 p.m. news broadcast didn't mention anything about that on her car. And that's a huge identifier for anyone that would be out looking. It's not in the attempt to locate from the police either.
Correct.
That there's damage. So, come on.
Correct. Yeah, I can't see the panel, guys. You might have to zoom me back out, Jack 61. Yep.
Okay. Mr. President says, if Teresa's blood was on the blunt bloody instrument, it would have been over-photographed and paraded in front of the jury at both trials.
Correct. Except, of course, if they withheld that evidence, because often when a person confesses, they may say, oh, look, you know, I used the knife or I used some rope, but the actual instrument of death was completely different because a lot of, you know, right, in a lot of crimes, people falsely confess. Oh, yeah, I used the gun. Sorry, mate, the victim was stabbed. You know, oh, I used a knife. Oh, no, sorry, guys, the victim was shot. So they can potentially withhold evidence that only the killer would know. But a question was asked, the story that Ryan gave is demonstrably false. Teresa never put in an insurance claim about the blinker light and took money. Kathleen Zellner checked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kay, that was on a DCI report from Fassbender that he had
correct
Ryan do some checking, and according to Fassbender, Ryan asked around the family or something and supposedly found out that Teresa had wrecked her car and she just took the money and didn't get her car fixed, which is just complete bullshit.
Well, what
Correct.
the hell? They just deputized him and made him a part of the investigation.
Sure,
Yes.
sure.
Hey,
Yes.
could you go
Yes.
do this work for us, please?
Correct.
Also, in regards to the blunt bloody instrument, maybe speculation, maybe they didn't parade it in front of the jurors and over photograph it and talk about it to no end ad nauseum, is because the blood was a mix of Teresa and somebody else. So that wasn't Stephen or Brendan.
That's a possibility, but we also have A23, which is extremely troubling, right? Because I'll tell you right now, had A23 belonged to Stephen or Brendan, it would have been front page news, right, Jack 61, right, guys? It would have been front
absolutely.
page news, right? So there's a problem, and that's why we're going to talk about it in the next slide. Bobby Dassey never sees an interaction between Teresa and Stephen. He never sees that interaction. But wait a minute, doesn't the blood on the back of the RAV4 indicate that somebody had bludgeoned Teresa? Yes, it does. But Bobby, remember, when Bobby came out, he never saw Teresa. He never saw Stephen. He only had a glimpse of Teresa's RAV4. And that's it. So at no stage did Bobby Dassey ever see an interaction take place. But we have a broken blinker light. We have blood on the inside of the back door. We've got A23, which is a third genomic profile on the murdered victim's RAV4. I don't know who it belongs to, and they've never retested it. And as Jack 61 pointed out, we've got the search warrant that wasn't served, right? Where we get detailed everything, right, Jack 61? He detailed everything.
He did.
Including the cadaver dog, loof, the scent dog, everything, and the blunt and bloody object that nobody knows where it is. And remember, guys, they sent in the detectives to look for a component of the emergency kit in a car to try and find it in Stephen's garage, and they never found it. What are they looking for? Is it the blunt and bloody object? They were looking for some object, right? So none of the cadaver dogs did any hits on the outside around Stephen's trailer or where Teresa's RAV4 was. So the question is, where did this event take place? So if you think about it, you've got a broken blinker light. Was Teresa involved in an accident? Did she hit a deer, strike a deer, right? Was she run off the road? What made Teresa come out of her car? What made her go to the back of her car? It makes sense if you put the broken blinker light in the back of your own car, right? And while she's at the back, she gets surprised and someone knocks her out and probably killed her then and there and placed her in the back of her RAV and drove her somewhere. And that's it, right? A completely different narrative to what the state is putting forward. All right. Do we have any additional questions?
Plenty. JD is asking, who did Bobby actually see if it wasn't Teresa or Stephen? So asking when, just to clarify the question. So Jay, if you could clarify, we will answer it. There's a question from Jeffrey 3. He said, is the blood on the RAV door inconsistent with a shot to the head?
Yes, it is. Completely inconsistent. So essentially what the researchers did, what her experts did, is they looked at all the different types of blood droplets that you can get. When someone is shot with a bullet, you get a fine mist and spray of blood. The pattern on the door is consistent with someone being bludgeoned and blood being flung off because the droplets were fairly big. Someone who is shot produces a fine mist of blood, and it's not from a stab wound. It's a totally different type of pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So from the blood...
And they demonstrated that.
Yes, they did. They reproduced it, right? You can see actually high-speed photography of a bullet going through tissue, simulated tissue with blood. It comes out as a fine mist, which makes a mockery of how Stephen could clean his garage on things that he can't see. Because they luminol treated, they didn't find any blood that belonged to Teresa, right? So it's not consistent with stabbing. It's not consistent with a shotgun, a gun blast, or a bullet. It's consistent with a blunt and bloody object, which is what they wrote in their own search report, in search warrant. Correct, Jack 61?
That's right.
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to go back to JD's question. He said, did I ask who did Bobby actually see? If it wasn't Teresa or Stephen, I said when, and he said in front of Barb's house.
When
he hasn't said.
No, that's very easy to answer. When Bobby came out to go bow hunting, which we'll do, he didn't see Teresa or Stephen. He only glimpsed Teresa's car. That's it.
Okay.
The RAV4.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hugh Fraser. Hi, Hugh.
Yep.
He's asking, has Wigert been quiet since the draft search warrant was unearthed, particularly regarding the bloody object?
And mind you, that Jack 61, when was that search warrant signed?
Well, to answer Mr. President, that was November 7th, the day of Cuss Road.
7th, the day of Cuss Road.
Yeah, they wrote that because Bushman's team had crossed the property line without permission. They searched that property and found the disturbed earth area. And I don't know how much, they had clearly had done something, because you can hear Bushman on the radio requesting the investigators to come down and, bring a shovel with you. So they prepared that warrant to serve on the property owners, but the property owners gave written permission for them to search, so they did not serve that warrant.
Oh, that's correct.
Which I'm not going to say that always happens, but Earl gave permission for them to search the property, but I think they still made him sign the permission slip, even though they served the warrant. Anyway, just saying.
Yes. All right. Look, guys, I know we got 1,000,001 questions, but we're only on slide number 1. So, Jack 61, can we have the second slide, please? But excellent questions. Please keep them coming. All right. So it's pretty obvious here that what Kathleen Zona is going to argue is this very, very point here. And there's a couple of questions that we need to address. And that is, if we know where Bobby Dassey was. Bobby Dassey stated that he was standing in the dining room of his mum's trailer. And he observed Teresa Halbach drive up, park next to his mum's van, and she got out of the van and she took photographs. The last time he saw Teresa Halbach was when she started to turn towards Stephen's trailer. Now, we need to ask a couple of very important questions, and this is what Zona is going to argue in front of a judge. And this point was brought up in last week's podcast. That is, which door did Bobby Dassey actually exit from to get inside his blazer? That's crucial, because there are 2 doors that Bobby could have come out of. The main door, as you can see here, or the side door. Why is this a big deal? Because if he comes out of the main door, he's got an open view. Guys, would you agree? If he comes out the main door, he can see everything. Guys, would you agree?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
If he steps out of the main door, he'll be easily able to see if Teresa's there, if Stephen is there, where they are. If Teresa is walking actually towards Stephen's door, whether Stephen attacked Teresa, everything. If he comes out the main door, he's got a perfect point of view. If Bobby Dassey actually comes out the side door, he's facing away from Stephen's trailer, which means that depending on where Bobby Dassey's blazer actually is, guys, would you agree? He's got a very limited view as he comes out the side door. Guys, would you agree?
Yes,
Unless
and
he,
if his
unless he,
car
unless
was
I was going to say,
parked
unless he
there.
intentionally turns over there and looks,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Correct. So he's got to make a conscious effort to come all the way out and have a good look around to see whether Teresa's there, whether Stephen's there, etc., etc. But the other important question is this: where was Bobby Dassey's blazer? Where did he park his blazer? Did he park it in front of his garage, or did he actually park it between the garage and the house? You guys get the difference?
Yes.
If he parked
Yes.
it in front of his garage, it means that Bobby has to come all the way out. Would you agree?
Yep.
If he parked it in the side, right between the garage and the house, that means all he has to do is take 1 or 2 steps and he's in his blazer and he's off. Guys, would you agree?
Yes, Dr. Silkman, even if
Yep.
he parked his car in front of the garage, same thing. It's much closer than to go through the main door.
Oh, 100% correct, right? So the other question is, where did Bobby Dassey actually see Teresa last? That's important, right? So how far was she from Stephen's trailer? Was Teresa Halbach within a couple of feet of Stephen's trailer? Was she much further back? So this is the type of argument that Zona is going to present to a judge, right? You'll be surprised, guys. Bobby Dassey actually gave us all the answers to these questions. Right, guys? He actually provided all the answers, and we're going to go through it right now. Do we have any comments so far? All right, are we all good? Awesome.
Yeah.
So Jack 61. Sorry, Neverly, did you have a comment?
No, I wanted to say that some people are still talking about the bloody blunt instrument. So
Awesome.
It's okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. Now, just Rhonda, do you see the slide?
Yes, I do.
Would you like to read Kratz's part, which is the question? And Neverly, do you see the slide?
Yes, I do.
Would you like to read the answer?
Of course.
That's Bobby Dassey, right? So this is the trial testimony of Bobby Dassey in the Stephen Avery trial. Let's go for it, guys. Let's see what Bobby actually said.
Question. You said walking towards Stephen's trailer. What does that mean?
She walked toward it to the door.
How close to the door did she get before you stopped watching?
Maybe 25 yards.
Did you see her enter your uncle's trailer?
No.
Why not?
Because I wanted to take a shower. I didn't pay no attention to it.
All right. Notice, guys, what Kratz said, when you stopped watching, which meant that Bobby Dassey had a limited view of Teresa Halbach. Why? Because he had stopped watching Teresa. And notice what he said. The distance, 75 feet from Stephen's trailer.
Yeah, but he's planted that's right. But now he's planted the implication.
Yes, correct. And Kratz
creative. He's being very creative over here.
Correct. And Kratz asked him, how come you didn't see Teresa enter into your uncle's trailer? Because I wanted to take a shower. And what did Bobby Dassey say to Deidre in his first interview, in his first statement?
That he'd already taken a shower.
That he'd already taken a shower, was dressed, and now was looking for his jacket to go bow hunting. Right? But
yes, and
Neverly.
Not only that, Dr. Silkman, but look at the question. Did you see her enter your uncle's trailer? No. Why not? because I wanted to take a shower. In other words, another implication, creative planting of the seed, that Teresa actually did enter the trailer, Stephen's trailer, but he didn't see it because he went to take a shower.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So
And
who's
I also, Doc, really quick, kind of
Yeah.
going back to last week's topic, I was saying, and I think a lot of us were saying, that Bobby didn't really care. I don't think that Bobby really cared about any of it. It was just something that was happening, and it wasn't necessarily unusual. And at the end of after he says, because I wanted to take a shower, he says, I didn't pay no attention to it. And I think that is really, I don't know, for me, that says a lot.
That's telling. So Bobby's basically saying, hey, I didn't see anything, right? I just saw her arrive, take some photographs. She probably turned, started heading towards Stephen's trailer, and that's it. I'm out of the equation. It's actually Kratz that's driving the narrative and the implication that Teresa must be in Stephen's trailer. Guys, would you agree? It's not Bobby.
Absolutely.
Bobby's out of the equation.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And you notice, sorry, just one.
No. I was just going to say, yes, I agree.
Yeah. So the person who actually got Bobby Dassey right up front and center is not Bobby Dassey, but it's actually Kratz himself, right? Because remember what Kratz said in the closing statement or the closing argument. We want you to make that leap, that assumption that Teresa was within Stephen's trailer. Bobby Dassey actually had limited information, and I'll explain why. So Bobby Dassey gave an estimate of how far Teresa Halbach was to Stephen's trailer. So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? So what I did, right, I went to Google Earth. And the good thing about Google Earth is that you can put in points and it'll give you an estimation, fairly accurate estimation of distance, right? So you can see here, Bobby just said, hey, look, 25 yards, which is approximately 75 feet. Now, if you have a look over here, right, you can see the rough position of Barb Yunder's van in red, and you can see the rough position of Teresa's blue RAV4. When Bobby Dassey last saw Teresa Halbach, she was 25 yards away from the trailer, about 75 feet. Now, we're not 100% accurate. Teresa could have been a little bit closer, could have been a little bit further away, right? Remember what Stephen said. After the photo shoot, I saw her turn and walk towards me. I came out to meet her. Did Bobby Dassey pay any more attention to Teresa Halbach after she turned around?
Right. We don't know.
No.
Yeah, we don't know.
He even said it. I paid no attention.
I was just going to say, I gather that he didn't pay any attention. He wasn't interested.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yet, Graham Moss is asking a really cute question. He said, if he didn't pay any attention, how did he explain what she was wearing? Very particular.
Well, correct. And that is all dependent on how long Teresa would have taken to take those pictures, right? So quite clearly, if Bobby was standing in the dining room window looking at Teresa Halbach, and he would have had a perfect view, he would have seen her, he would have noticed what she was wearing. That means that Bobby Dassey saw the entire photo shoot. Guys, would you agree? He saw the whole photo shoot.
Well, yeah, because she generally only takes 1 or 2 pictures at most, and that's it. She just waits to give the receipt and gets the money and gone.
As Stephen said, 5 minutes, that's it.
Correct, which means that Bobby Dassey must have seen her for 2-3 minutes max?
Well, if he stood there and watched for whatever reason, maybe.
Yep. So he didn't just go, oh, there's someone here I've got to go bow hunting and get my gear. No. He was watching Teresa Halbach for the entire photo shoot because he said, I saw her turn around towards my uncle's trailer, which meant that she had come out of the car, taken the camera out, taken the photographs, written down the serial number, because apparently that's what she does, and started to turn around. After that, Bobby's got no recollection of seeing Teresa. But the important thing is this: he doesn't see Stephen, right? He goes, I paid no attention to it. So guys, can you see, even with Bobby Dassey's rough estimate, is Teresa right next to Stephen's trailer? Is she within feet of Stephen's door?
No.
No. No, even if you drew an arc, Teresa is nowhere near Stephen's front door. There's no way that Stephen can lunge at her from that distance. Guys, would you agree?
Absolutely. If it's 75 feet, I mean, that's pretty far away. I mean,
that's a sizable distance, right? Because remember,
well, if you're gonna attack someone, that's a huge distance, you know.
Yep. And yet we know
that no lunging took place, in my opinion.
No. So all Bobby sees is her turn around and starts to head towards Stephen's trailer. Stephen said in an affidavit, hey, I saw her finish the photo shoot. I saw it come towards me. I came out with the money. Bobby, he's away from the window. He pays no further attention. He doesn't see Stephen. He doesn't see Teresa. Now, there's something wrong here. We know that Teresa's blood is on the back of her own RAV4 door, open RAV4 door, right? She got attacked. We know that her blinker light is broken. Wait a minute. Look at this scenario. Have a look where her RAV4 is. How the hell is she breaking her blinker light? And how the hell did Stephen attack her there behind her own RAV4? And did Stephen now pick her up by herself and throw her in the back of her own RAV? And where did Stephen drive her? Because remember, what did Bobby say when he went to go bow hunting? I saw Teresa's RAV. The RAV was still there.
That's right.
So guys, where did this attack take place? Who did it?
I can't make it work right there. I can't.
Nope. Right there. Bobby provides the goalposts. He sees Teresa walk towards Stephen's trailer. He said, hey, about 25 yards, 75 feet, go to Google Earth, put in the points, right? Then he goes, when I went bow hunting, I just saw Teresa's RAV4 and I left, right? So here, guys, you can see, wait a minute, we know, but here's the important point. Did Kratz ever address the blood on the back door? What did he say the blood on the back door was due to?
I think he said that Stephen and Brennan or whatever slung Teresa into the back cargo area.
Yep, correct. The blood spatter expert said it's flinging the blood from the hair, flung and hit the back door. But the problem is, when you do a reconstruction and you fling bloodied hair, the blood arrows, the blood heads point that way, and the direction in which you're flinging the person, right? The blood went straight down, which meant that the blood droplets were cast off by a blunt and bloody object directly to the back door. All the evidence suggests that Teresa was attacked at the back of her own RAV4. Jack 61.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's all I can make out of it. Not flinging from, it would be from your right to your left. The blood trails would go off to the left.
Yep.
And they don't.
Now, correct. If Bobby Dassey said, when I went to bow hunting, I noticed Teresa Halbach and Stephen towards the back of the RAV, you'd be going, oh shit, that
That's
doesn't
different.
sound good.
Yeah,
That's
that would be.
completely different.
Yeah.
But when Bobby comes out, he doesn't see Stephen. He doesn't see Teresa, right? So there's something wrong right there. The scenario can't be right. There's something not right going here. All right. Do we have any questions so far? Or what did you think of that picture? Doesn't that tell you a lot? That wherever Stephen was, it was not in the peripheral vision of Bobby Dassey. Bobby Dassey never said, I saw Stephen walking towards Teresa.
Probably not. I mean, even if he pulled his truck in right there at the garage, got into it, and had to back it out, he would have had to have turned at a really weird
Very
angle.
sharp angle to
Yeah.
see it, right?
Yeah.
So, Houston, I think we have a problem. Look where Bobby places Teresa, a long distance from Stephen's grasps, if Stephen is going to attack Teresa Halbach. And wait a minute, why would Teresa now walk all the way to Stephen's front door? In fact, wasn't the address of who did the photo shoot, wasn't it Barb Yunder's address, or was it
Yes.
Stephen Avery's address?
Barb's.
It was Barb's.
Barb's. So, wait a minute, wouldn't she go towards Barb's house looking at the number? Why would she be going to Stephen's? Is it because Stephen saw her finish the photo shoot and Stephen comes out, waves?
Probably because he came out and waved.
Yep. It's as simple as that. So, do we have any other questions?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony Hills.
It's a good one, this one.
Were Bobby and Brandon told by Stephen to change the battery in the van, even though Bobby didn't
charge the battery.
Charge the battery in the van, even though Bobby didn't know who she was or why she was there.
Correct. That according to what Stephen said, correct me if I'm wrong, according to what Stephen said, he had asked Bobby and I think Brendan to help either clean the van, charge the van, the battery of the van. But Bobby said, I've never seen her before. I don't know who she was. I've got no idea. So he distanced himself to ever knowing who Teresa Halbach was, even though Teresa Halbach, I think, was there, total of 4 times, Jack 61? 4?
No, she was there. She was there more than that. She was there 7, 8 times on the property.
So she was
there many times.
Yeah, but according to Bobby, he said, I know nothing. I do not know.
Jeffrey III says, did Teresa's skull show any blunt force trauma to the cranium? Well, we don't know.
But there's one problem with that.
Yeah.
Too much of it's missing.
35% of the skull they've recovered. They don't know where the rest is. I'm being serious. I'm not being facetious.
Right.
No,
I don't know.
true.
They never found an intact skull. They only found tiny bone fragments of the skull.
And they were lucky to find the ones with the beveling.
Correct. They found 2 skull fragments with partial internal beveling. That's it. Large part of the skull they never recovered. Correct. All right. So, Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? All right. So, let's have a look what Bobby Dassey actually says in court. He got asked some more questions. Just Rhonda and Everly, are you happy to continue your roles?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go for it. So this is Bobby Dassey being questioned in court.
Question. Now, when you left to go hunting, did you have a vehicle in the premises?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what kind of vehicle it was?
A black Chevy Blazer.
Where was that parked?
It was parked right between the house and the garage.
Okay, let's keep going.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize we were Mr. Strang. Oh, okay. I'm confused. Oh, surprise. Okay. Mr. Strang asked if you heard any screaming or if you heard any other noises when you got into your truck. Were you listening for anything like that?
Oh my God.
Oh,
What a tricky question. Were you listening? Yeah, I know what you're going to say, the D word. No,
how long does it take from exiting your trailer until you get into your truck? How far of a distance was that?
maybe 10 feet. I had it parked right in front of the door.
How long would it take you to get into your car?
Maybe 10 seconds.
Oh, so in those 10 seconds, you didn't hear any screaming or any calls for help?
No. Oh my God. Can I go first?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Neverly.
Mr. Slimy Kratz is double dipping over here. Double dipping, and I'll tell you why. First, the question, were you listening for anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's using this 10-second period that Bobby said that it took him to get out of the house into the car.
And that's
That
important.
he couldn't have heard anything because A, he wasn't listening. Now, mind you, if it was the other way around, he would say, of course, it's 10 seconds. Let's count it together. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, plenty of time to hear something if that was the case. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just reversing the thing.
Yep.
Second of all, Bobby tells us right here where he parked his car,
Where he parked
between the
his
house and the garage.
Yep.
And it takes it, which it's only logical to conclude that it was by the side door, not in front of the front door, main door.
Mhm.
Why? Because it takes him only 3 steps or 10 seconds to get in.
Correct. It's actually
Great job, Dr. Silkman.
It's actually 3 steps from the back door, the side door, to get inside his blazer, which is exactly what his mother said.
Mhm.
That they
Well,
parked at Jack 61.
well, I was just going to say, it tells me he backed into that spot. If it's 3 steps, basically, he comes out the back door, down,
Yep.
boom, 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 he's in.
Yep, 100% correct, right? Which means we've now answered 2 very important questions with no speculation. Bobby Dassey said, I parked my blazer between the garage and the house, not in front of the garage, between the garage and the house. He said it only took him 10 feet. That's 3.3 yards. That's about 3 steps. And he even said, my blazer was parked next to the door. Guys, what's
And Doc,
Huh?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Sorry.
Go.
No. You were completing a thought. I'm sorry.
What's the only door that fits that bill?
Side door.
That's it.
Side door.
Done. This is not us speculating. This is Bobby Dassey.
Testimony.
This is trial testimony, which is the truth, which now means we've now solved A, where Bobby parked his blazer, and B, which door he came out of. That is crucial because it means that you can excuse Bobby. You can excuse him. The moment he lost sight of Teresa Halbach, he's gone as a witness. He sees nothing, which now brings in a very important point, right? So, Jack, sorry, I just wondered, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to beat my own little dead horse even deader. Even though it's not a major thing, as you guys know, I like to really focus on words and small phrases. Correct. He also says, I wasn't listening for that. I wasn't listening for anything like that. The same as he wasn't paying attention to anything else that was going on with the photo shoot of the van.
Yep.
My opinion.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. So there was nothing nefarious in Bobby Dassey's mind. He didn't notice anything unusual, strange, weird, out of place. Nothing. Who is the person driving this nefarious activity?
It's Ken Kratz. I was just going to pop in and say,
It's all
that everything
Kratz.
everything
It's
around
Kratz.
this is Kratz is putting Bobby in the hot seat, and
Yep.
he can deny it all he wants.
Yep.
But that's exactly what he did. And
That's
this implication
Yep.
of what he allegedly saw is all Ken Kratz. All of it.
It's all Kratz. But
And-
you see, sorry, just wonder.
I just really quickly, and so as we're talking about this, I'm thinking, okay, this is why we have such a bizarre alibi between Scott Taddock and Bobby
Yes.
Dassey.
Yes.
Kratz has told them, okay, listen, we've got to give you an alibi, so you guys are both gonna say this, and for
Correct.
whatever reasons, Scott and Bobby both felt threatened or something coerced into going along with this testimony.
Compromised.
Yep.
Compromised, yeah, that's it.
And you know what it was? It would have been very simple. Your uncle would have blamed you. Your uncle would have said, wait a minute, I saw Bobby leave. I saw Teresa leave. Oh my God, the two left together. Right? And so Bobby would have been thinking, oh shit, now I'm in the hot seat. I need an alibi.
They could have easily just said off the record, hey, look, you were there too. This could easily fall in your lap.
Yep.
That's the compromise right there. And at 19 years old, and you're listening to, seeing your life flash in front of your fucking face, pardon my French, I'm sorry.
Correct. So we've now answered two major points here. We now know where Bobby parked his Blazer, exactly where his mum said. He also confirmed exactly which door he came out of, the back door, the side door, not the front door, the side door. Why is that significant? Because the kid's got a very limited view. And as Just Rhonda said, to Bobby Dassey, who cared? Some lady comes up, takes some photographs. Hey, I want to go bow hunting.
He wasn't paying any attention at that point. He's like getting the hell out.
Correct. And what did Kratz say in his opening statement? He made the time difference 15 minutes.
He had to.
Yes. So poor Bobby is now the target of who? Kathleen Zellner. Right? Kathleen Zellner's going, all right, so he's your star witness. He's the one that put my client in the hot seat by you, Mr. Kratz, implying that Teresa was in Stephen's trailer. I'm going to go after your star witness. And oh my God, who turns up? Tom Sawinski.
Yep.
What's damaging about Tom Sawinski? He finds the MTSO on the 6th, not 1 or 2 years later, on the 6th.
Or 12 years later, yeah.
That's correct. And then when Bobby Dassey was interviewed by Kathleen Zellner's private investigator, what did he say? Because I already had my shower. Which means it now shrinks the time period. So quite clearly, all Bobby did was he missed the encounter between Stephen and Teresa. That's it. But for Kratz, he can't let that go. Right, guys? He has to increase the time frame to 15 minutes, saying, hey, come on, Teresa only takes about, 4 or 5 minutes? She's gone. What the hell is she still doing there for 15 minutes later? She's got to be in Stephen's trailer. Right, guys?
That's right. That's the implication. He had to do it.
That's the implication. So if you have a look at the next slide, if we can have a look at the next slide, Jack 61. Have a look. It's a piece of cake. Have a look. If you go to Google Earth and you look at his back door, the side door, and you work out 3.3 yards roughly, have a look where the Blazer is. It's exactly where he said in court, Neverly.
In court. Exactly. On the stand. So this is in the record. So Bobby exited the house on the side door.
Yep.
Done.
Yep. And when you think about it, why would you park it in front of your garage if people are coming in and out of the garage, you have to move your vehicle. He parked it right very close to his back door, which means that it only took him, 10 seconds. 10 seconds to get out and get in his car and look at the red arrow. He takes off. And from his peripheral vision, what does he see? He sees Teresa's RAV4. Now, for all intensive purposes, Teresa could be just sitting in her RAV4, ready to go.
She could have bent over to tie her shoe, or she dropped something. It could be a split second.
Or she could have been checking a message, anything, right? But the important point is this: Stephen's gone. Stephen is already in or walking towards his trailer, and Bobby Dassey doesn't see it. Guys, do we have any questions? Neverly.
No, I'm just laughing about Kratz, how devious he is.
Yep. So
I just Anthony Hills has what I don't know. I would kind of consider a rhetorical question as far as I'm concerned. Why does Bobby's mother write in Facebook that Bobby has a witness he was hunting that day and he had a Green Ranger? I have no idea about that.
Yeah, I don't think we can really answer that one.
No, what we're doing,
speculate.
What we're doing is we're only sticking to trial testimony, right? Not what Barb says or anybody says outside of court. We're sticking with trial testimony because trial testimony is regarded as the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Okay. So now we've established what Bobby Dassey has done and where Bobby's Dassey blazer was, which door he came out of. There is no way he came out the front door. He came out the side door, took a couple of steps, 3 steps. He's in his blazer, he's gone. That's it. So Jack 61, if we can have a look at the next slide, guys, we can summarize it, right? Very, very easy. Okay, so Bobby Dassey actually moves away from the windows and he simply doesn't see the encounter between Teresa and Stephen. Out of sight, out of mind. So Bobby Dassey cannot be used as a witness against Stephen to say that the encounter never took place. He never saw it. And as just Rhonda said, I paid no attention. He never saw the encounter between Teresa and Stephen. What did he say? He said, oh, look, I was either having a shower, I was getting my hunting gear, I was getting a jacket. Who cares? The important thing is he never saw the encounter. It doesn't mean the encounter didn't take place. He was preoccupied with going bow hunting. So he clearly, either he had the most quickest shower in the world, but he even said, hey, the time was about 3 or 4 minutes, right? And what did Stephen say? The whole thing lasted about 5 minutes, which is entirely consistent with what Teresa Halbach does. Takes pictures, writes down the VIN, either gets a receipt, payment, see you later. And that's it, right? So we've shown what Bobby does is he comes out the side door, that door right there. And his blazer is right next to the steps. He gets in his blazer and takes off. And as he takes off, he notices Teresa's RAV4. He does not see Teresa. He does not see Stephen. Teresa, for all intensive purposes, could be sitting in her RAV. Her engine could be on and she's ready to go, right? Bobby departs, right? Now, here's an important point. The laundry and the mud room, which is right next to that door, and I'll prove it to you, has got no windows. None. So Bobby, if he's in the laundry, if he's in the mud room, he can't see out. He's lost sight of Teresa. If he's in his bedroom, getting his clothing or having a shower or whatever, his bedroom is on the other side of the house. He can't see Teresa Halbach. He can't see Stephen. So this poor kid is being sheep dipped by Kratz by overplaying the importance of Bobby. Guys, would you agree or disagree?
100% agree. Absolutely.
Yes. And Joffrey, don't worry, we'll get into that. It's going to get progressively worse for poor Bobby, I'm afraid. Yes, it's going to get worse. All right. So is there anything that I've said that's 100% pure speculation? We read his trial testimony, right? That's exactly what he said in court. Neverly.
Anthony Hills has a question. How can Bobby state, I left it before she did, if he does not see her leave?
I can't answer that question.
I think Kratz can answer this question.
But, true, but from Stephen's perspective, and we'll talk about it, he sees Teresa leave. But there's another important observation by Stephen as well. He knows that Bobby's gone. So that means from Stephen's perspective, they both left.
They're both off the property. We're gone.
Both off the property. They're both gone. Stephen never says, I saw my nephew hit Teresa Halbach, strike Teresa Halbach, run into a car. Nothing. He goes, I noticed Bobby's car was gone. I noticed Teresa turned left on Highway 147. That's it. Right? That's it. Any Neverly?
No.
Any comments?
That's all, yeah.
All right. So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? All right. So this is a reconstruction done by Kathleen Zellner. And you can see in the top left-hand corner, approximately where they placed Bobby Dassey's blazer. That position is wrong. Bobby Dassey's blazer is actually further in, right, guys? Between the garage and the house. But I think they probably just did it.
If it's 3 or 4 steps, it would have to be further over towards the house side door.
Correct. It's actually closer towards the actual side door. So here's the dilemma. Here's the problem. According to what Stephen said, he goes, hey, look, after Teresa, I paid Teresa, she was in her RAV4, right? She gave me a copy of an Auto Trader magazine. I went to my house in my trailer. I put the magazine next to my computer. I eventually came out. When I came out, I wanted to go and see Bobby. However, I noticed that his blazer was gone, right? And he even said, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, he even told Fassbender and Winger, he goes, Bobby's vehicle was gone. And he's telling the absolute truth, right? Bobby's vehicle was gone. We know that Bobby went bow hunting, right? And in a very narrow time frame, right? So according to Stephen's narrative, he goes, I saw, he never saw Bobby leave. He never saw Bobby leave. He only saw Bobby's blazer gone. He never said he saw Bobby's blazer anywhere.
As in like driving away. He just saw it once there, and then another minute, the car was gone. Yeah.
Correct. He never said, I saw Bobby drive away. He goes, when I came out, Bobby had obviously gone. I didn't see his blazer. So he obviously went. I don't know where he went. Maybe, I'm sure Stephen knows that his routine, that he regularly goes hunting. That's fair enough. But according to what Stephen said, he goes, when I looked up, I saw Teresa Halbach's RAV4 turn left on Highway 147. According to Bobby said, no, I turned right. I went to go hunting, and I saw Scott Taddich further down the road. And what did Kratz say? Well, how do you know what time it was? And what did Bobby Dassey say?
Jesus. Scott will be able to tell you. He was very specific. He said he will be able to tell you exactly what time.
Because he had a clock in his car.
Because he had a clock in his car. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's a problem for Bobby. It means that if Stephen is correct, Teresa's gone, Bobby's gone. They both left the property. Guys, anything else?
Okay, regarding that, somebody asked, I think, I don't know who it was.
Yep.
Somebody said, well, why wasn't Brian? Remember how Barb was saying on Facebook that Brian said that Bobby told him she left. It couldn't have been Stephen because she left. I saw her leave. So somebody said, why was Brian not called? It was Danny Brewer's fan. Why was Brian not called to testify to his conversation with Bobby? Is it hearsay to talk about a conversation you were involved in?
It could be. It could be.
Yes,
That's
Yeah,
right.
it could be.
Well,
Correct.
true. However, Kratz was successful in entering it in record what Mike O said by
That's correct.
Bobby.
It was hearsay as well.
It was also
Yes.
hearsay.
Which correct. And in actual fact, Strang and Buting demanded a mistrial. That's
Yes.
how it was. They demanded a mistrial. They didn't call Brian Dassey as a witness because you can imagine that Kratz would have used the same argument that Strang and Buting did. Hearsay, Your Honor. Correct, guys?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And they, you know, and Kratz has already got enough lies that he's trying to keep contained, and so throwing another one in the mix, you know, it's just, and you know, if he can get by, which he did, kind of, without calling another Dassey, you know, then
correct.
I believe that's what his goal was.
Each person that was called up to. For example, Blaine, oh my God, his testimony was very, very problematic and a bit of a disaster. But I think with what Bobby had to say, Kratz overstretched it and has now really put Bobby Dassey under the spotlight. And we'll answer Anthony Hill's question in a second. But guys, don't listen to me. Have a look at this video. Now, Jack 61, do you have this video?
Dr.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Another thing that I'm thinking, you know, what you're talking about, you know, Stephen was in the trailer, Bobby left and was gone. That, to me, seems problematic for Bobby because then, you know, that's when any kind of narrative can be made up for what he may or may not have done, which is what Kathleen Zellner did by making the video.
Correct.
You know, nobody knows, but this is what we can speculate to. And, you know, so that does put Bobby in yet another bad spot.
Correct. But not only that, there's another potential issue. If Bobby said that he turned right and Scott Tadich was going the other way, it meant that Scott Tadich and Teresa Halbach were traveling in the same direction. Do you understand? So it doesn't look good for Scott Tadich either. And that's why there was this massive argument when Stephen Avery called his sister. Remember that time? And it was all about, oh, yeah, but, you know, Bobby said he saw her leave. And it was all about that. There was a lot of tension. Jack 61, do you have a comment?
Well, I was actually going to mention that call in October of 2017. There was a lot of tension. And so... But yeah, you brought it up, so yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I've got the video whenever you're ready for it, Doc.
Yeah. So have a look at this video. This is only a short clip, about 1.5 minutes. It's critical because these are the two detectives that do the walkthrough of the actual property. Now, the very first thing before Jack 61 plays it, the first thing the detectives do is they come up to the front door of Barb Yunder's property. The next image you see directly after this is them entering a door. And I thought, they must have gone through the front door. It took me a while to realize they actually didn't go through the front door. Have a guess which door they actually entered. Does anyone want to have a guess?
I know. I won't guess, so I'll just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, I know too. Me
All
too.
right.
Yeah.
Guys, yeah. Let's play the clip and you'll see. Oh, sorry, Katie. Sorry about that.
Oh no, that's all right. I'll let you just play the clip.
Yep. Let's play the clip and we'll comment. So these are the two detectives who do a walkthrough of the property.
Here we go.
Yep, let's go for it.
They got the house number in there. There's the cat greeting us at the door. Go back inside, kitty. Go, go. Smells nice in here.
Really.
Wow.
I don't understand why people can't keep their house cleaner than animals. Should take all those shoes in case you have any unsolved burglaries with impressions.
Yeah. Let me know if you see anything in here that needs to be videoed with a close-up.
Okay. Search warrant, obviously.
What's that?
Okay. Does anyone have any comments? Right. I got the impression that they came in through the front door. They didn't come in through the front door. What door did they actually come in?
Side door where Bobby exited.
The very door that Bobby exited. Now, I
wonder why. Why did they do that?
I have no idea. But what you notice
because
is...
it's most logical, if you ask me.
Yeah, unless the front door was locked and they never had a key to get in. But what you notice is when they walk in, to the right-hand side is the laundry. It's got no windows. But if you're astute, on the left-hand side is their so-called mudroom. Remember what the detective said? We better take those shoes in case there are unsolved crimes to get the
take shoe impressions. Yeah. I mean, what a terrible comment. Unprofessional.
Yep.
She's such a bitch.
Yep. And Katie.
What was the final comment that the guy said? The very last thing he said?
If there's anything that needs a close-up to take a video of, and she goes, oh, there's the search warrant on the table. And later on, the guy actually takes, and they're laughing, they're giggling, and they take a picture of the search warrant.
Man, super unprofessional. They know this is going to be viewed by people, and they're having those conversations, evaluating housekeeping skills and how it smells, and murder shoes, and I mean, it's all crazy.
But here's the important thing. I don't know if Jack 61 can actually play it back, but in the mud room, if you freeze frame it, there's a hunting jacket. There's an actual hunting jacket that's in the mud room, just hanging up. I wonder whether Bobby went in there to get his jacket. You have to freeze frame it, but you can actually see a jacket hanging up, and it's got the camouflage. Let's see if we can see it. Yep, they're going up to the room. Do you see the jacket?
Mm-hmm.
If you go one frame back, you can actually see the jacket hanging up. And if you play it back slowly, you can see the camo on the jacket. That's a hunting jacket. Would you agree, guys? There you go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And Neverly, does your son, he's in the military, does he have camo jackets like that?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Correct. So, isn't it interesting? I don't think that's Barb's jacket. That looks like a camouflage jacket that you go hunting with. And wouldn't it be interesting if Bobby was looking for his jacket I probably got it from that room. And once he got all his gear together, he leaves through the back door, that side door entrance, goes inside his blazer, right? But if you notice, when they walk in, immediately to the right, their right, is the dining room. And you can see out the window. It's a limited view. Then further down is the kitchen windows. Again, limited view. And further back, further in front of them, is where the main door is, right? And further up is Barb Yunder's bedroom, right? Because they go through the entire house. To their left is where the boys sleep and the boys' room. And I remember Susan said, "Oh, I wonder whether there were windows back there." There are windows that face on that side, and Stephen's burn pit is further down. So you literally would have to put your head out of the window to see the burn pit, right? So quite clearly, if Bobby Dassey loses sight, of Teresa, then clearly he's not near a window, because he can't provide any more or further information, right? So after he sees Teresa do the photo shoot and she starts to turn around, he's lost sight of Teresa. He doesn't see the encounter. When he comes out, Teresa is likely sitting in her RAV4. He takes off. So the upshot is that there's nothing nefarious that went on. Bobby said what he said, nothing wrong. He leaves, then Teresa leaves. Jack 61.
Thinking about putting ourselves in their shoes. I'm talking about Kratz and Bobby. Bobby's got up. He's taking a quick shower. He's going to go bow hunting that afternoon like he normally does.
Yes.
He sees Teresa pull up, maybe, or some encounter here, some interaction. He notices it, gets ready, and leaves. He's not. Kratz is making it sound like that Bobby's hyper interested in this encounter.
Yep.
And just reading Bobby's testimony, he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He sees it. He observes a few things. He gets in his truck and he leaves. Kratz, on the other hand, is trying to take this limited encounter, and I'm going to call it limited because I think it was very limited. And he tries to imply that Bobby saw all this stuff and he's very observant and all this shit went on. And he also tries to stretch this time frame to a 15-minute thing.
Stretch it out.
Absolutely.
Yep. And Bobby's saying the opposite, Jack 61. Jack,
he did. Right.
What? Correct. And the fact that he goes, "Hey, I only took about 10 seconds to get out of my house and get into my blazer and I took off." Right? So he's really shortening and compressing the time frame. But the tragedy for Bobby is that Kratz made him the star witness against his own uncle. So Kathleen Zellner now is putting a case against their star witness. All right, let's test how good the star witness is, right? So now she's gathering up all this anecdotal evidence to make him a Denny suspect.
Yeah. And to add to people out there that are, angry with Kathleen for doing this, remember, Kathleen is doing exactly what the Court of Appeals told her she could do.
Correct.
That's all she's doing. That's all she's doing.
Yep. That she had to suffice all the Denny prongs.
That's right.
And lo and behold, what happens? We've got the new witnesses that emerge that are potentially, if they're correct, are devastating for Bobby, right? If Bobby basically said, I saw nothing. I saw nothing of importance. But it's going to get worse because, as you guys in chat have mentioned, what about Brian Dassey? What Brian Dassey said, right? So do we have any questions so far, or can we continue?
I think you can continue.
Awesome. All right, Jack 61. Can we have a look at the next slide, please? So now it's going to get even more complex, because now Brian Dassey, who's Bobby Dassey's brother, he comes up with an affidavit for Kathleen Zellner, and this is done in 2017. Now, Katie, do you see the slide?
Yes, I do.
Yep. Would you like to read what's highlighted in yellow? Please,
Okay.
guys, take note what Brian says.
On or about November 4, 2005, I returned to my mother's trailer to retrieve some clothes, and I had a conversation with my brother Bobby about Teresa Halbach. I distinctly remember Bobby telling me, quote, Stephen could not have killed her because I saw her leave the property on October 31st, 2005, end quote.
And point number 6.
I was interviewed by law enforcement on November 6, 2005, after being pulled over while driving my Uncle Stephen's Pontiac. My brother Brendan was in the car with me, and he was interviewed by other officers at the same time as me. I told the investigators that they should talk to my brother Bobby because he saw Teresa Halbach leave the Avery property on October 31st, 2005.
All right. Now, guys, can we go around the panel and also in chat? Is what Brian said complete bullshit, the truth, or just hearsay? Because I know for sure that this has caused a lot of controversy. True? Remember the phone call, Jack 61, that Stephen did from jail? It blew up big time. So is what Brian Dassey saying complete hearsay? Jack 61.
Well, I mean, in a court setting, it probably would be considered as hearsay. They'd have to call him. They'd have to call the person that said it to the stand to testify about that to get the direct quote.
Yes.
Coming from him, Brian. I don't know why he would say it. I don't know what purpose, motive he would have in saying this, especially this early in the investigation. Because remember, we had the DCI report where he did tell them this
on November the 6th.
That's right. We have that report. So I tend to believe what he's saying. I can't prove it. But that's what I tend to believe.
Okay. Thank you, J61. Just Rhonda, what do you reckon? Hearsay or element of truth?
Oh gosh.
It's a tough one.
It really is, because I think that where it's being presented in court or under oath, or somebody else is saying it for him, to me that's just straight up hearsay. Is there some element of truth to what is said? Perhaps, but it's still hearsay in court, I think.
Correct.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know. I go with we're talking, well, God, they're both sworn testimonies, right? What's being said in court,
yes,
and what's in this affidavit. They're sworn under penalty of perjury.
Yes.
So it's a tough one, but I'm going to go with the hearsay because that it's being presented in court as hearsay. It's hard to say.
Okay. Even though he said, I distinctively remember Bobby telling me.
Wait a second. If this is Brian's affidavit, this is the truth, and this is not hearsay as far as I am informed. Of course, I'm not an attorney or anything like that.
No, the affidavit is not hearsay. I'm not saying that what's said in the affidavit is hearsay. I believe you can say that in an affidavit and it's not going to be called hearsay. But if you're going to take that affidavit and present it in court, then I believe, I don't know. It's fucking.
But then what would be the purpose?
It's a tough one.
It's a I don't know, man. It's definitely a quandary that I'm having right now.
Okay, it would be interesting to what people think in chat, because there's been a lot of debate about Brian Dassey. Thank you, Jaswanda. What about you, Katie? What's your opinion? Hearsay
Well,
or
I mean, right? If, like Neverly said, this is an affidavit. It's once it's accepted by the court, it's accepted as the truth. Everything contained in it is to be viewed as the truth. But Jack, you said police reports. Are there police reports that document these interviews and what both of these?
It's a DCI report. It's a DCI report.
Yep, which we read last week, last podcast. On November the 6th, that's what was written down.
Okay, yeah.
Of what Brian Dassey told, I think it was O'Neill or Skolinski. You better talk to my brother because he saw her leave. This is November the 6th, right? Remember when they went to Crivets to interview him and his brother Brendan? That's when he said you should. But the argument is, well, did Brian really hear it from his mum or from Stephen? But in this affidavit, he goes, I distinctly remember Bobby telling me, not I heard it from my mum. But
yeah,
he could have made a mistake. He could have made a mistake.
Well, what happens when the police in their report says, Bobby said blah, 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 blah. He stated that blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, correct.
Then that's not, I believe in this case, this would not be hearsay. If they put him on the stand and said, Brian, tell us your story, and he says this, I don't believe that this would be hearsay because it was from one person to another.
Okay, interesting.
If it's Brian saying that in court, then I mean, who's saying this in court? Who's presenting and saying this in court? What's in this affidavit?
This is an affidavit of Brian Dassey. He never was called up to the trial.
Yeah, he was never called up. We're saying
this isn't. Oh, then this is absolutely not hearsay. I'm sorry, I was completely misunderstanding. I thought somebody in court was saying this under oath.
No. This is his affidavit to Kathleen's oath.
No. This is not hearsay. This is not hearsay, in my opinion. The affidavit.
Okay.
Yeah, Mira Pennington in chat says, I don't think it would be hearsay because he was actually part of the conversation. It's not secondhand information, i.e., you know how Barb said? Brian said, Bobby said
yes,
that she left. That's hearsay.
Yep, correct.
Yeah.
If this is true, that means that Brian had a conversation with Bobby and Bobby Dassey told him, Stephen couldn't have killed it because I saw her leave. And what we just went through for the last hour, if Stephen is correct, then they both did leave. And this complements that because both of them would have left very, very close.
Creates another problem, but it creates a problem too, right?
Well, yeah, this is why they didn't call. This is why they didn't call Brian to the stand.
It creates a problem for Bobby Dassey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a failure on the defense for not calling him to the stand to give this testimony. That's absolutely.
Correct. But there was one problem though, Jack 61. The defense was not allowed to name any potential Denny suspects apart from Brendan Dassey.
That's right.
Right? And they had a massive argument.
Is a mind fuck right there.
You're correct. They couldn't name anybody else except Brendan. All right. What about you? I don't recall. Is this regarded as hearsay?
Well, this is how I think about it. It's Brian can say that what he heard Bobby say she left, but he's just saying what he heard. It couldn't be offered for the truth of what Bobby said, whether she left or not. Only Bobby, could say that. But
Correct.
But Brian can say what he heard, and it wouldn't be hearsay because it's just saying he heard it firsthand, like Myra said or Myra said. And Neverly.
Correct. And Neverly, thank you. I don't recall. Neverly, do you have any further comments?
Yes. Danny Brewer's fan said, also agrees. I would think hearsay would be more if you claim to two other talking or get a story from a third party. And Mr. President says, suppose Bobby also told law enforcement he saw Teresa leave, but they edited that out. And Mr. President has been talking about editing records, like DCI reports and stuff, and that's a whole another rabbit hole that I would
Correct.
love to talk to you about, but I think we're gonna choose to stay on topic. But it's
Correct.
really interesting, really interesting.
Okay. So quite clearly, this had an impact, right? Because what does Deidring say to Bobby Dassey? Well, in case 02, Deidring goes, what the fuck is going on? So he asks directly, Bobby, is this true? So can we have a look at the next slide, please? And this is slide I. And Neverly, do you see the slide?
I sure do.
Yeah. So this is Bobby's response, well, as written by Deidring. Let's go for it.
This is case 2, page 49. Bobby was asked if he remembered at any time talking to Brian Dassey about Teresa leaving. Bobby stated he never talked with Brian about seeing Teresa leave. So he denied the whole thing. Bobby stated he never talked with Brian at any time about this. Bobby was asked why Brian would say something like this, and Bobby responded, quote, "Your guess is good as mine," end quote. Bobby stated he has no idea why Brian had stated that he had said this. Bobby stated he never talked to Brian about these matters at all.
Right. So how do you resolve this? Guys, how do you resolve it?
You have another hearing and put both asses on the stand.
Both asses on the stand and let the jury draw their own conclusions.
Correct. So do you think it's actually worthwhile, Kathleen Zellner, to keep on pursuing this, to get her day in court, to thrash all this out in front of a judge? Yes or no, guys? Because there's too many conflicting statements. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, this is not the only one. You got the Sawinski issue.
Yes.
Tied in with his girlfriend at the time, her affidavit. She says, yeah, he told me, and I remember the call, and that's his voice.
Correct. All right. So let's test out Stephen's validity. Let's see if anything he said can actually be verified. So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? So as you know, Stephen said, hey, look, after the photo shoot, I saw her starting to walk towards my trailer. I got out. I encountered Teresa, and I paid her. She went in her RAV. She was inside her RAV4. She gave me a copy of an Auto Trader magazine. And I walked back to my trailer. And when I walked in my trailer, I put the copy of the Auto Trader magazine next to my computer in my dining room, right? So he's saying, hey, Teresa handed me the latest copy of the Auto Trader magazine, right? So this photograph was taken of Stephen Avery's living room. That's his computer. That's the computer that they eventually seized. Remember, they took the hard drive and they searched it for pornographic material. And what did they actually find, guys, on his computer? Anything?
Photos of Jody. I think maybe
Yeah.
a couple of himself, but that's it.
That's it. Okay, so no pornographic material. That wasn't between him and his fiancée at the time. So the question is, did they actually find a copy of the Auto Trader magazine? Was he actually lying? Did he actually have an interaction with Teresa? Well, let's have a look at the next slide, Jack 61. Well, lo and behold, guess what? On November the 5th, 2005, and you can read about this in CASO, page 98, a Detective Remiker located said Auto Trader magazine in Stephen's living room, right near his computer desk. And if you look to the right-hand side, you can actually see the Wisconsin, that must be the Innocence Project. It's definitely his computer desk. And there is the latest edition of the Auto Trader magazine, exactly what Stephen said, right? Exactly what Stephen said. Now, how do we actually prove this? Well, have a look at the next slide at Jack 61. We can have a look at the next slide. Look at this. You might want to blow it up a little bit. This is the package that Teresa Halbach gave Joe Ellen Zipperer on exactly the same day, October the 31st. And if you're able to blow it up a little bit, it's exactly the same date. It's the same date. It's the same magazine, right? If you just move to the right-hand side, it's the same magazine, which means that Stephen wasn't lying. Teresa Halbach did give Stephen the latest copy of the Auto Trader magazine. Now, no one said they noticed any blood or anything nefarious on the magazine. Nothing. So Stephen said the truth. Teresa Halbach had given him the latest Auto Trader magazine, which he brought inside his trailer, and he left it where he said he left. Guys, do we have any comments?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rhonda.
Let's go.
Did you say that the Zippers had the same Auto Trader magazine?
Yep.
Well, then, why
That was my
here?
question.
Why are we all here fucking talking about this then?
I got
Another $1 for Scooby.
Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Damn it. The fucking hell, it's how I feel. It's ridiculous.
$2. Ting ting.
Yep. It's the same
She's
magazine.
happy. Hey, continue. She's happy.
It's
Yeah,
the
how do
same-
we know which Auto Trader for sale sign, bill of sale sign came from the Zippers? And
That one there.
from
that one there, that came from the Zippers.
well,
Right,
This
so
because-
what?
package right here that I'm looking at came from
That's the
Zippers.
Zippers.
That's what.
That's the Zippers. I've
But
seen.
where
the
does it
original-
say that it's Zippers? Where does
I've
it say?
seen. I've seen the original crime scene photographs where it's taken. It was in a brown paper bag with the tag, and it actually said Zipperer residence, and it listed
Oh, you
all of
did.
it.
Okay.
And guess what? See under that for sale sign, if Jack 61 zooms it, right next to the for sale sign is a piece of paper. Do you see that piece of paper to the right-hand side?
I
To the
can
right,
see it's
see that?
white,
Where you
yeah.
can't see yet? Guess who wrote that note? You can't see the note. Guess who wrote that note to the Zipperers?
Ooh.
Teresa.
Teresa Halbach.
Teresa. Yep.
Oh,
It's covered.
okay.
Never
You-
shown
Right.
to Joe Ellen Zipperer in court, and guess who showed it? On what docu-series they showed it?
Cam.
Cam, convicting a murderer. Yep. And if you notice, Stephen just had the magazine. He just had the magazine. Whereas with Joe Ellen, because this was a trial to see whether you want your Firebird listed, she gave him the whole pack. Whereas Stephen is a regular client, Teresa Halbach just gave him the magazine, as she normally does. And if you go
Right.
back to the photograph in his room, there are Auto Trader magazines everywhere.
Yeah, there are a bunch.
Right.
There's a
Yeah,
question. There's a question from Danny Brewer fan. Is
Mhm.
that a handwritten note from Teresa because she didn't see the zippers?
No, well, there is a handwritten note that Teresa wrote for the Zipperers. You can't see it there, but on an episode, I've got the actual pictures of it, and Jack 61 has seen them. Teresa Halbach actually wrote a handwritten note But
Yeah.
there's no time, according to the detectives, there's no time on the note.
Yeah. Avery Wave was the one that clipped that, caught that in the
Correct?
Cam series, and
Correct.
I think they posted it on X. It's
Yep.
a great catch. It's a great catch because I'm gonna
Brilliant.
be honest. I never saw this note ever.
Nope, I never saw it either. And
Wait a second. So what was Joel and Zipper saying?
Joe, when in court, because I read the trial transcript, in court, Kratz showed her the bill of sale, the for sale, and the book. Kratz never showed her the note.
Not the
But
note.
not the note.
Because
Nope.
because oh my gosh,
He didn't
Okay.
show her the note.
I'm having like a little mini meltdown because I haven't put these things together before. But
Yep.
to me, this whole little trial package or whatever it is,
Yep.
this if you put that with the what little bit of voicemail we have from Teresa,
Yep.
to me this all goes together with that voicemail and this little package. To me, goes together, and I'm so surprised that I learned something new today. Thank you so much.
Isn't it interesting that they didn't take all 4 pieces out and put them in a quad and take a photo of the whole thing and then each individual piece?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
And if you go to the crime scene photographs, you don't see, I don't recall seeing the note. So I don't know where the hell they got the picture from. So there are pictures that we don't have.
Well, it's likely.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this without going through and looking at the exhibit list.
Yep.
It could be an exhibit. It's possible it's an exhibit
Could be.
that just didn't get shown, because
Nope.
the exhibits can be entered without necessarily being shown in court. It can still be an exhibit.
Yep, correct. And this was shown to Jo Ellen. Then she was shown the picture of the plastic bag, right? All of those came in a plastic bag, and Jo Ellen didn't recognize it.
Well, I mean, if you're just looking at this photo, I mean,
Yep.
I've seen this photo before, but I never paid any attention to that white piece of paper behind the for sale sign. Never crossed my mind.
That was the note. And just wonder, you implying that the voicemail message that we hear, that they say came from Bobby's answering machine, could it have been the voicemail message that she said to the Zipperers? Is that what you're implying?
That's absolutely what I'm implying.
I don't know your address. Can you ring me back?
Yeah, right.
Interesting. Yep. Interesting. All right, guys. Look, we're nearly finished.
Yeah, that's what I think so too.
Interesting. So Stephen didn't lie. He definitely had, the implication is this, he definitely had an encounter with Teresa Halbach. She handed him a magazine. It seems rather, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but if he had murderous intentions, what the hell does he care about a magazine? How do you explain it? How would you explain that, guys? What would he even bother taking a magazine if his intention was to murder Teresa Halbach?
It doesn't work. I can't make it work.
I would argue he would get rid of the magazine.
Yes.
To take away at least one implication that he may have murdered her. And
what did bloody Kratz say to Fassbender about lack of evidence that Teresa Halbach was ever inside Stephen's trailer? Oh, you found the bill of sale and you found the Auto Trader magazine. Oh, yeah. Now, how does that translate to Stephen murdering
her phone number written on the little note, back patio, remember?
Yes.
He counted that as evidence connecting Teresa to the trailer, which is fucking ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And to kind of relate this to Daniel's case, we argue the same thing, that just because that Auto Trader magazine and bill of sale was on Stephen's desk doesn't mean that he murdered somebody. We say the same thing about the AVL or GPS information in Daniel's case. Yeah, he was at all of those locations. So what? That's
Correct.
what the GPS says. That doesn't mean that he assaulted anybody. Same
Correct.
thing, in my
Correct.
opinion.
But there's the danger in this, because they're trying to build up a narrative. And so Kathleen Zellner, rightly or wrongly, is also building a counter narrative, saying, hey, my client said that she arrived, took photographs, was heading towards his trailer. He comes out, encounters her, pays her. She's in a car. She gives him a magazine. There's the magazine. He's telling the truth. She left. Bobby left, right? So rightly or wrongly, she's now building up a case against Bobby. Now, if we can have a look at the next slide, we've got a couple of more slides to go. But quite clearly, the encounter took place, right? And so this is why we spend so much time talking about the encounter between Bobby, Teresa, and Stephen, and who saw what and when. So we worked very, very hard to establish a completely innocent, non-nefarious situation. Bobby only had a limited view, never saw Teresa and Stephen together. It doesn't mean it didn't happen, because Bobby was preoccupied with doing other things. By the time he came out, the encounter had taken place. And that's it. Nothing nefarious, right? But Bobby Dassey is the state star witness, because the implication is that Teresa was inside Stephen Avery's trailer. And depending on which court or trial, he either murdered her in the trailer or murdered her in the garage, right? So guys, let's sum this up. This is the arguments that Kathleen Zellner would put in front of a judge, right? If we can have a look at the next slide, Jack 61. So
just 1 second. I have to pop this down, but just take me like 2 seconds.
No, not at all. Not at all. So we've established one important thing, and that is that Bobby Dassey never saw the interaction between Teresa and Stephen. And guys, I think you will agree, an interaction had to take place. This is slide N, Jack 61, if you got it. Do you have that slide N? It's the one just before that one. See if you got it.
Just a second, Doug.
Yeah,
Slide N.
N. It's the summary. It's the summary that I did.
Okay.
See if you got that one. So we've established that Bobby Dassey never saw the interaction between Stephen and Teresa. So this is what Kathleen Zellner will argue in front of the judge. Or just see if Jack 61 has got the slide.
Oh, I did miss it. Oh my God.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Just a second. I'll grab it.
No hassles at all. So guys, do we have any questions in chat? So how we're doing? Oh, we got nearly 70 people in chat. Awesome.
Let me add it this way. This is just to be a quick ad here.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Do we have any questions? Neville, do we have any questions from chat?
Sorry, Dr. Silkman, I stepped away from the computer and I cannot see. Maybe somebody else can read it.
Okay. Well, guys, what we'll do, let's continue with this, right? This is important. So this is what Kathleen Zellner will argue in court, okay? So essentially, Bobby Dassey doesn't see the interaction between Stephen Avery and Teresa Halbach. That's a fact. So there are two ways that this can go. If we have a look on the left-hand side first, right? The reason why Bobby Dassey doesn't see the interaction is very, very simple. It's because he's doing something else, right? He's preoccupied. So after he sees Teresa Halbach taking photos, He's doing something else, trying to find his jacket, having a super quick shower, getting his bow hunting equipment. He doesn't see the interaction. So, again, if we look at the left-hand side, Stephen sees Teresa, he pays Teresa, he returns back to his trailer with a copy of the Auto Trader magazine. Teresa, at the meantime, is inside her RAV4, ready to leave. Engine running, we don't know. Bobby doesn't note anything. Remember, he doesn't hear any screaming, nothing, right? So Bobby just simply misses the interaction between Stephen and Teresa. But we know an interaction took place. Why? Because there's a magazine, Auto Trader magazine, inside Stephen's trailer, the latest one, exactly the same one that Teresa handed over to Joellen Zipper, Jack 61.
That's correct. Oh,
And
sorry, I'm not.
And also, we know that the interaction happened because the van actually appeared in an ad. And in order for that to happen, Stephen must have paid Teresa.
No.
What do you mean no?
That's what I initially thought. The photographs of the van were never seen.
Didn't somebody call regarding that van?
Somebody called to buy the van, but that was after. That was up. They rang the house directly. The pictures of the van never made it in an order.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So someone, it's quite clear, the disc that the photographs were on were destroyed. Those images never made it in an Auto Trader magazine. But you're correct, Neville.
Well, how would they know then?
Word of mouth. Word of mouth.
Okay.
I would have heard it on the news that Teresa Halbach had been at the property photographing the van. So, it's people that like the souvenirs and like
Yeah.
They called up Bob. I think they called up Bob to say, is that van still for sale? Okay,
I get it.
Yeah. But those images never made it in a magazine.
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
Right? So
thank you.
No hassles. So continuing, when Bobby comes out to get into his blazer through the side door, what he does is he notices Teresa's RAV4, right? So Bobby Dassey leaves. He's the first one to leave. Teresa Halbach follows him very close, and they both leave the Avery salvage yard. If that's the case, the conclusion has to be that neither Stephen Avery nor Brendan Dassey could have killed Teresa Halbach. Guys, would you agree?
I tend to agree with that.
Jack 61.
Yep, I tend to agree with that. Absolutely.
Okay, Neville, would you agree?
Yes.
All right. What do people in chat think? If both of them leave, it couldn't have been Stephen and it couldn't have been Brendan. Brendan was still at school. Now, I want to point out, that doesn't mean that Bobby Dassey killed Teresa Halbach, right? From the perspective of a Kathleen Zorner, it's not a client. It's not Stephen. By implication, it can't be Brendan. Brendan is still at school.
It's all coincidental.
Correct.
And I'm not a big believer in coincidence, especially of this nature, but it could be coincidental, completely non-nefarious.
100% non-nefarious. Now, here's the state's case on the right-hand side, right? And the judge will argue this. Oh, no. According to Kratz, Teresa Halbach is being held against her will inside Stephen Avery's trailer, likely in his trailer. So somehow Teresa Halbach walked to Stephen's trailer. That encounter didn't happen. And somehow Teresa Halbach was subdued and held against her will in Stephen's trailer. Guys, would you agree? That's the state's narrative.
Yes, but they have to admit that Bobby comes out. He doesn't hear anything, her screaming or nothing.
Correct.
But allegedly, Brendan hears this 100 yards away.
That's correct. That is correct. So it's starting to get really bad. Here's the problem that the state has, and Kathleen Zona will argue this. Okay, well, if Teresa Halbach was in Stephen's trailer being held against her will, here's your problem. There is absolutely zero forensic evidence, nor any cadaver dog alert that actually supports Teresa ever being in Stephen's trailer. They luminol treated Stephen's trailer. The only presence of blood was in Stephen Avery's sink. They brought in a cadaver dog. The only alert that the cadaver dog gave was in Stephen Avery's bathroom laundry. They collected the crime lab guys, and also, of course, Colburn, Lenk, I think Remica was there as well, Tyson. They collected brown and red stains all over Stephen's trailer. Every one of those stains contained Stephen's DNA, none of Teresa. They swabbed the leg irons, they swabbed the handcuffs. The only DNA they found belonged to Stephen. They then, after Brendan Dassey's confession, they tore Stephen's bedroom from pillar to post. Correct, guys? They tore it to pieces.
They did. They wrecked it.
Yep.
They ripped off the paneling. They ripped up the carpet. And how much of Teresa's Halbach's DNA did they find?
Not one molecule.
Zero. Yep.
Zero. So now their argument is, well, if Teresa was held up in Stephen's trailer, forensically, there's no evidence of it. Just Rhonda, did you have a comment?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, so here's the problem for the state. They can't actually prove it, right? Now, you can argue till the cows come home, but even Teresa's key, which magically appeared in Stephen's bedroom, that doesn't even contain any DNA belonging to Teresa. It only has got DNA belonging to Stephen. Very, very suspicious. You want to talk about item FL? No problems. That's been debunked. What did they do, Jack 61, to Stephen Avery's garage? What did they bring in? A
jackhammer.
A
jackhammer.
Hammer. They jackhammered the concrete. Did they find any of Teresa's blood or DNA on the floor?
No.
None. The only DNA was on item FL, which has been debunked, and you can easily argue is due to contamination by Colhane at a workbench. And in actual fact, she contaminated the negative control. So, putting all that aside, the state will argue, okay, only Bobby Dassey leaves the Avery salvage yard to go bow hunting. That means that when Bobby Dassey comes back, he notices there's no more RAV4. He can't see the RAV4. It's gone. That must mean that somehow Teresa's RAV4 is moved. According to what Brendan said, oh, yeah, it was in the garage, right? So the state's case will be neither Teresa nor her RAV4 leaves the Avery salvage yard. Guys, would you agree? That's the state's case.
That's the state's case.
Yes.
That's correct.
That's the state's case. So their conclusion is Stephen and Brendan killed Teresa Halbach. Guys, would you agree?
Absolutely.
This is what they'll argue in front of the judge. And then that's when Kathleen Zona is going to bring in Bobby Dassey as a Denny and put all the factors against him in front of the judge, right? And argue, hey, forensically, you can't prove Teresa was inside Stephen's trailer. Where was Teresa? How are you going to explain the blood on the back door of Teresa's RAV4? How are you going to explain A23? How are you going to explain the broken blinker light? How are you going to explain no dog hits anywhere outside Stephen's trailer? Where the hell is Teresa? Wait a minute, but the argument might be, well, yes, and good point. No one heard any shots being fired. None. And also, according to Stephen, and I believe Mama Avery even said it, she brought the mail over to Stephen's place. And don't forget, Jody phoned up Stephen twice. So what's he doing? Is he multitasking? Is he chopping up Teresa Halbach? Is he raping Teresa Halbach? What's he doing?
All of the above.
That's
Sure didn't sound like it in the phone calls.
Yeah.
No. So can you see that the state's case is starting to get very wobbly because they can't actually prove that Teresa was inside Stephen's trailer or garage. And IDMFL, you can debunk it in 2 minutes. So what was the only thing that Wiegert could say in court? Why they couldn't find forensic evidence? Why?
It's 5 days to clean up.
That's
Yep.
it.
One of my most annoying, frustrating, what a piece of shit Uyghur is. Responses.
And they didn't put forth anything to substantiate his statement at all.
No, nothing.
He just gave an opinion with no facts. Right?
There
He
was a
gave an opinion.
question.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. President, our friend said, if Auto Trader never received Teresa's photos, why weren't they frantically calling Teresa all week starting on Wednesday, asking when were they coming?
That's a very, very good question because Teresa Halbach has got a set routine that when she...
It's a protocol.
It's a protocol that after she does the photo shoot, I think that night she sends over the pictures so they can put it into the next Auto Trader magazine. And remember this, it wasn't Scott Blowdorn that phoned the police or Teresa's mother or father. It was Tom Pierce many days later that phoned Karen to say, hey, look, your daughter hasn't shown up on November. Remember, guys, this is November the 3rd. Mm-hmm. And then Karen phones up to say, my daughter's missing. No one's seen her.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I have the missing and endangered posters created on the 2nd. So the whole thing is a shit show.
Correct. I think they're working in the background. They're getting things ready for searching for or trying to find out where she was. All right, guys. Do we have any additional questions? Neverly, any further comments?
Mr. President says maybe Auto Trader received the photos. Because what was the protocol for? Didn't we talk about this way in the beginning about the protocol? Is there like a 24-hour turnaround when you take pictures and you submit it and blah blah?
She mails everything in.
Right.
She drops it in the mail with the flashcard and
snail mail.
Regular mail, but it's mail? Local. Yeah, so they're going to get it within a day or two. So
okay, yep. But no, we don't know what happened. Neverly, my understanding is that if Teresa's burnt electronics were inside Stephen Avery's burn barrel, whoever did them burnt them. So the digital card would have been damaged. The FBI, as far as I'm aware, did not recover anything from the memory cards. Jack 61, is that your understanding as well?
That's right. That's correct.
Correct. So there was an unknown female DNA on a light switch, but it wasn't Teresa's, and it could have well been Jody. Jody's.
They didn't take her DNA to compare it with for whatever reason.
No, and don't forget the detectives.
Could have been Maz.
Well, the detectives were in there as well, touching stuff. So it could have been one of the detectives. but no, it wasn't Teresa Halbach's DNA. They never found her DNA, skin, blood, hair, nothing. Just Stephen. In fact, I didn't even find Brendan Dassey's DNA in Stephen's trailer at all. All right, guys. So let's continue. We're nearly finished. So if we now dovetail back, Jack 61, have you got slide 31C?
Yes, I do. Just a second.
Yep. So now what we're doing is we're dovetailing back into the book, right? And looking at why Kathleen Zona considers Bobby Dassey a viable Denny suspect, right? And this is where things are going to go pear-shaped, big time. Nan's Life asked a question. What is the date? Well, I think it's 1 week behind, because if Jack 61 might be able to put that picture back up, but it wasn't the current, because obviously they haven't printed it yet. So Teresa gave Stephen and Joellen Zipperer the latest edition, which I think was
September 21st or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a delay when the next magazine comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a weekly thing. So yeah, I think it probably runs a week or two behind, depending. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Shall someone read out Trav's question?
Trav is asking, how the hell can Brian Dassey's statement that his brother saw Teresa leave not impeach Bobby Dassey on the stand, or at least raise the question of Bobby's truthfulness and therefore reliability?
Yeah, that's correct. And that's why Kathleen Zona wants to get her case in front of a judge to discuss all of this, the implications, because Kathleen Zona is saying that Bobby Dassey lied.
Yeah, and Brian was never called to stand in court.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Okay, so now if we dovetail back in, this is where a lot of the trouble started for Bobby, right? The mere fact that he had this computer, the so-called Dassey computer, inside his bedroom. And I believe when they questioned Bobby, he thought that it was in the dining room, I think. Is that what he said, guys? And not in his bedroom, but in another part of the house.
Living room or dining room or something, yeah.
Yep. But quite clearly, that's in his bedroom. And this image was taken on November the 6th by the same two detectives in the walkthrough at about 3:30 p.m. because there's an actual clock on the wall that we can see what the time is. So if we go to the next slide, Jack 61. Neverly, do you see the slide?
I sure do, Dr. Silkman.
Yeah. So would you like to read it? So now we're starting to narrow down on the focus on Bobby. Okay, let's go for it, guys.
According to Zellner, quote, there is sufficient evidence that it was only Bobby who had access to the Dassey computer during the day on weekdays between approximately 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Moreover, 128 searches for the most violent porn images primarily occurred on weekdays when only Bobby was in the Dassey residence. It is undisputed that Mr. Avery never accessed the Dassey computer. He did not have the password for the Dassey computer, nor did he possess a key to the Dassey residence, which was locked when no one was home. The only time Mr. Avery ever entered the Dassey residence was when one of the Dassey family was at home, probably. Family members was home. The depicted acts in the violent pornography that Bobby was viewing are sufficiently similar to the violent murder of Miss Halbach. The evidence of Bobby's searches for violent pornographic images is not so remote in time as to be inadmissible, but rather so close in time to Miss Halbach's murder that the searches are direct evidence of Bobby's motive to kill Miss Halbach. The Sawinski evidence greatly strengthens the opportunity argument because Bobby is in possession of Miss Halbach's vehicle, where her murder likely occurred. The vehicle is a key piece of evidence in the crime. The new evidence that Miss Halbach's vehicle was returned to the Avery salvage yard from a different location is corroborated by the fact that a witness saw a vehicle similar to Halbach's leave the property on October 31st. In Mr. Avery's trial, Mr. Lerquin, a propane driver, testified he saw a green mid-size SUV leaving the Avery salvage yard driving towards Highway 147 between 3:30 and 4 p.m. on October 31st. He informed law enforcement about this when he was stopped. At a roadblock a few days later and had heard about the news of Miss Halbach being missing. End of quote.
All right. All right. Do we have any comments there? So quite clearly, Kathleen Zellner is talking about the pornographic material, which we've talked about many, many times. We don't have to go over all over again. The pornographic material on the Dassey computer. And that was essentially hidden with a Valey CD. And again, there were arguments in court saying, no, nothing was hidden. Strang and Beauty never opened up the DVDs. I think they were at the time. So it's their problem, although they needed a proprietary program to open up the material. The court argued that, no, everything was handed over. It's not a Brady violation. It's their fault that they trusted Kratz when Kratz said, and Fassbender, there was nothing of evidentiary value on those DVDs. Jack 61, do you have a comment?
Oh my God, I could have a field day here, but
a quick comment.
Him making it. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Kratz making this statement, there, and when he did the stipulation project towards the end of 2006, going into 2007. He didn't want to talk about this thing. He didn't want Veely on the stand. So he wanted it stipulated, if you don't call Veely to the stand, we'll do this, blah, blah, blah. Everything was geared to be in his favor and nothing for the defense.
Correct. Correct. Now, we've talked about this a lot of times. We're not going to go over it again. But I just want a quick yes or no, and people in chat too. If Strang and Buting had in their hands the contents of the Valey CD, Tom Sawinski in the courtroom, was Bobby Dassey in trouble? Yes or no? Jack 61.
Yes, absolutely.
Just Rhonda.
Yes.
Katie.
Yes.
I don't recall.
Yes.
Neverly.
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. If during the trial, Strang and Buting had in their possession the contents of the Valey CD or the pornographic material and the searches, and Tom Sawinski on the stand, was Bobby Dassey in trouble?
Definitely. Yes.
Yep. I agree. Okay. I definitely agree. But they missed out on a golden opportunity with the propane tank driver. And I'll explain why. Guys, we're nearly finished. So, Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide? So this is really, really intriguing. And I'll tell you why. So, John LeQuern, he's the propane tank driver. And what he does, he drives into the Avery salvage yard. And he places his propane truck next to the filling station that you can see right there. And that filling station is on the Avery salvage yard where Jack 61 has got the arrow. That's on the property, right on the corner. And John LeQuern, he backs his truck back so the front of his truck is facing Avery Road. So John LeQuern can see what enters and what exits Avery Road. And one thing he said, and it stood out, he goes, there's not many cars that come and go either on Highway 147 or up and down Avery Road. There's only a few, and even said it, only a few vehicles come up and down Avery Road. Not many. So what John LeQuern does, towards the end of the day, he parks his truck there and he fills up his propane tank, right? With so that's a filling station. What's remarkable is that John LeQuern goes, while I was in my truck, I saw a green SUV drive right by me and stop at the stop sign, but he didn't see which direction it went. So he just saw it drive by him, right? And it just so happened that that car was like Teresa's RAV4, because he goes, yeah, it was a medium-sized SUV. He called it green. And remember, guys, all the debates, is the car green, is it blue? And depending on what light you see, it can appear green. Guys, would you agree? Depending on the light, the color can either appear blue or green.
Yeah, that's what
Absolutely.
mica actually means. Mica means the color changes color depending on the
Correct.
light. Because I was
Correct.
following another trial and they had a silver pine mica and they went over that. They beat the dead horse over the mica thing. So
Correct.
that's what it means.
Correct. Katie.
I remember at the time that color came out on a RAV4, and I noticed at that time how it changed colors. I really loved that color because of that.
I had a similar type of car, was called stone blue, and depending on the sunlight, it either appeared a light blue, but in shade, it appeared a grayish color. So it was like a two-tone, depending on the color conditions.
Color
Right?
shifting paint. Color shifting paint.
No big deal. No big deal.
Nope.
And we've done it 1,000,001 times. And you can go on Discord where, and on Jack 61 has seen it. We've all seen it, where you've got the same car at the same place in the crime lab, but one's taken inside under the fluorescent lights and it's blue. Unmistakable blue. In bright sunlight, it's freaking green.
Yep.
It's green.
Yep. I wanted to point out something else about the time too that the Quinn reports. Remember, this is daylight savings time, and if he had an analog clock in his truck, I don't know what he had. It's a good possibility he hadn't fell back on his time, so it's probably an hour off. Just saying. Don't know that. Speculation.
Well, true. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. There's not many cars that go up and down Avery Road. This guy sees an SUV. He didn't say sedan, right?
No.
He didn't say green sedan. He said it was a mid-size, smallish SUV, which is exactly what Teresa's car is. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. He sees it around about between 3:30 and about 4 o'clock. He reckons it only takes him about half an hour, I think, Jack 61, to fill up his truck with propane, around about 30 minutes. So if you notice the time that he gave a time span between 3:30, 4 o'clock when he saw the RAV4. Now, wait a minute. That's bizarre, because Stephen said, oh, no, I saw Teresa turn left on Highway 147 at about 2:38 p.m., roughly 2:38, 2:40, not exact, right? Well, as Jack 61 alluded to, that time is around about 1 hour less. Would you guys agree? 1 hour less than when LeQuern sees the what appears to be a RAV4 drive past him. Would you agree?
That's right.
Around about 1 hour less. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, can it possibly be? But Jack 61, if you can scroll a little bit to so we can see the writing on the right-hand side on the top, there's a couple of cryptic clues here. But he doesn't see the car drive in. He doesn't see the car drive in. He doesn't see the green SUV drive in. So maybe he could have missed it, or maybe he arrived after Teresa did. If that green SUV is Teresa's car, guys, would you agree? As Teresa drove in, Mr. LeQuern drives in his truck, so he missed Teresa coming in.
Yes.
Guys, is that reasonable?
It is.
Yeah. So in other words, Teresa has already driven in.
Right.
He rolls up, right? Now here's a clue. He doesn't see the school bus.
That's right.
Right.
I was gonna say that, but you've said it already.
The school bus comes at 3:45. No freaking way he misses the school bus.
No.
Unless he leaves before the school bus.
That's right.
Right? But he reckons it takes about half an hour to fill up. Right?
Well, he would have missed it. He would have missed the school bus twice because it would have pulled in and went down Avery Road, turned around and came back out.
Yep.
There was no way he would have missed it one way or the other. I don't think.
No. So if he was sitting at, because he knows about the school bus. He's seen it before. You're not going to miss this black and yellow school bus drive right past you. It's big, right? That's the bus that Brendan and Blaine are on. He doesn't see the school bus on there. Shit. If he's out by an hour, he won't see the school bus. Guys, would you agree?
Completely.
If his time is out by an hour, he'll miss the school bus.
Right. That's why I said I think the clock in his truck he hadn't set it back yet. He hadn't accounted for daylight savings time.
Yep. But here's the problem. He never talks about the blazer. He never sees a blazer. He only sees the green SUV drive out.
Yep.
Right? I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Bobby said he left. Did Stephen actually ever say that he saw a blazer leave the property?
No.
No, but Bobby said he left, and Scott Tadich can vouch for him. So how do we resolve this? Well, Jack 61, if we go to the next slide, I thought, nah, it can't be. It can't be. So if you look at the next slide, fucking hell, 1 day prior was the end of daylight savings in Manitowoc, in Wisconsin. So if John LeQuern didn't turn back his clock, he was on the old time. Do you understand? He needed to turn his clock back by an hour.
That's crazy that it happened on that day.
Yes. On the 31st, he needed to have placed his clock back, actually, in the early hours of the morning. He had to place his, but no one does that. No one gets up at 2 o'clock and shifts the clock back. So
no, when I used to have like those older model cars, I didn't bother for 6 months until it turned back again because it was a pain.
Yep.
Same, never leaves.
Yep. Mine too. So back in 2005, on October the 31st, he had to be 1 hour back. If he forgot to change his clock, either on his wrist, if he was wearing a watch, or in his truck, he sees, think about this, he sees Teresa drive out at the same time that Stephen said he saw the Teresa drive out. Guys, I know that's speculation about the time, but it makes perfect sense.
I have a question.
Never.
Did Mr. LeQuern ever say that he looked at the clock in his car or the watch on his wrist, or
no? But he would have written a time down in the book when he was at the propane station. So wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if we can get those records and just check them? Because if he was still on the old time and didn't change his clock, he sees the RAV4 drive past him at the same time that Stephen sees the RAV4 turn left. Now, Stephen didn't mention seeing the propane tank driver, nothing, but again, that's a sizable distance.
Oh,
But
from his vantage point, he probably couldn't see it.
correct. But that is so freaky that on that day, one day prior, on October the 30th, it was the end of daylight saving in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Is that just a coincidence? Or is it indeed possible? Because let me tell you now, if LeQuern forgot to turn his clock back and he sees Teresa drive past him, what does that tend to indicate about what Stephen said?
He's telling the truth. She left. Turn
He's
left.
telling the truth. Yeah.
He's telling the truth. That you had an independent witness with no skin in the game saying, yeah, I saw a mid-sized green SUV drive right past me. I didn't see whether it turned left. I didn't see whether it turned right. I didn't see a school bus. He never mentions seeing a Blazer. Oh my God, he could have seen Teresa drive out. What do you think,
We
guys?
have a question. Yes, yes, I totally agree.
I agree.
I totally agree. I just find it that it's maddening, actually, in this jumbled mess,
Yep.
that all we needed is the 31st to be the day that you switch clock. But
Correct.
that happened the night before, actually.
Correct. He had
Because
to
it
change
happens
the clock the night before. Correct.
Yeah.
So he had to bring back his clock 1 hour. And I know that in my car, I don't change the clock. I leave it at the old time, right? And our digital clocks, they change it automatically. But back in 2005, if he had just a normal wind-up clock, if he never changed the clock back, he's still on the old time, right? And notice he can't be, because he would have seen the school bus go right past him, because he's in that time frame. But if he's 1 hour wrong, he won't see the school bus. He fills up his truck and leaves before the school bus arrives.
He
Guys,
would never have missed a school bus.
No.
It's so big and yellow, and it could have been
Right.
going, like,
And it makes a lot of
he
noise.
had a good vantage point to see it, you know what I
Right in
mean,
front.
either approaching or leaving. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Could that possibly be the answer to complement what Stephen said? I saw her leave. And maybe the propane truck driver saw her too.
I have a question from
Yep.
Anthony Hills.
Yep.
Who was the first to report the car as blue, not green, blue, on the phone for the world to hear?
Well, in the
On the phone.
It's Pam Stern.
it was Pam, and she was actually
Okay.
confused. She thought they
Yeah.
were looking for a green one.
But wait, it's more green than blue.
It's
What
weird.
color
It's
was it?
yes,
That's
it's blue.
weird. Yeah.
That's right. It's so weird. It's blue green.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, if say I'm wrong, that means that day on October the 31st, another mid-size green SUV happens to exit the Avery salvage yard. What's the chance of that?
Pretty slim. That's I
Pretty
gotta
slim.
say. Yeah.
It can happen. 100% agree. Only speculation. But oh my God, if LeQuern forgot to turn his clock back, he sees Teresa at the same time frame that Stephen said he saw Teresa leave. That's scary. All right. Well, look, guys, I've only got a couple of more slides. Neverly, did you have some comments?
No, actually, there's all kinds of great comments in the chat. Actually, Nan's Life said, where is it? And I must have forgotten this. She said, KZ Zellner mentioned at the very beginning of taking this case about the clocks going back. And I said that I don't actually remember that. And she said, I believe she tweeted it in the early stages of the case.
Wow.
So thank you about that. Yeah.
Yep. Thank
Mr.
you.
President says Wiegert was the first to say it. That was blue. He edited Karen's statement. Why the fuck, pardon me, why the heck would they say,
Yes.
that it's blue? Just
He
like
did.
Anthony Hill says, for the same reason, the police report describes a green RAV seized on
Yes.
the 3rd of November.
Yes,
I
Mr.
think that it says
President is
blue.
correct. He's correct.
Yeah.
I changed
And
it to
also, when the RAF actually reached the Madison Crime Lab, it said that it was blue. Not green blue, but blue.
blue. Correct. Correct.
And the search warrant said blue.
Correct.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. It was always green, 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 and then suddenly it went to blue.
And
And even-
then Bobby says
Yeah.
it's teal.
Teal.
Yeah.
Teal. That's correct. And in court, Kratz said blue, green, or teal. He said all three colors. Jack 61, do you have a comment?
No, sorry, I had forgot to unmute.
Okay. All right. So if we can, I've only got a couple of more slides to go, guys. If we can have a look at slide 35. Katie, do you see the slide?
I do.
Yep. Would you like to read it out, please? So now Kathleen Zellner introduces another person. Let's go for it, guys.
One of the most interesting developments from Zellner's investigative legwork on Avery's behalf has been her focus on some of the figures who remained in the shadows. One such person was Michael Osmundson, an avid hunter and close friend of Bobby Dassey, who was a nearby resident of Mishikat. According to Zellner, Bobby Dassey was with Michael Osmundson when Halbach's vehicle was discovered at the Avery salvage yard. At the Avery salvage yard party? What? On November 5th, 2005. Zellner's post-conviction filing noted that her investigator met with and interviewed Osmundson about whether he was the person with Bobby pushing the RAV4 onto the Avery salvage yard. According to Zellner, the interview was necessary because Osmundson fit the height, weight, and beard description provided by Mr. Sawinski of the person helping Bobby push the car. Quote, when Osmundson was asked if he was the person who helped Bobby push the vehicle on the Avery property on November 5th, 2005, Osmundson responded he could not remember if he was the individual, end quote. Zellner's December 2022 post-conviction filing revealed. Osmundson said something else to the Wisconsin police that drew scrutiny from Zellner as her legal team had dug into the Manitowoc County murder mystery several years later. Back in 2005, Halbach's mother first reported her daughter as missing on November 3rd. Quote, remarkably, Osmundson stated to law enforcement that he learned about the missing girl on Tuesday, November 1st, 2005, when Halbach had not yet been reported missing, end quote. Zellner pointed out, quote, further, the record reveals that Osmundson and Bobby were either suspiciously calling each other repeatedly or with each other at relevant times after Miss Halbach's murder. Bobby's phone records reflect that on October 31st, 2005, there were 7 phone calls between Bobby and Osmundson occurring between the following times in the morning and evening: 6:12 a.m., 6:36 a.m., 3:56 p.m., 3:57 p.m., 4:53 p.m., 5:10 p.m., and 6:01 p.m. Bobby's phone records reveal that Bobby called Osmundson a total of 66 times from October 24, 2005 to November 9, 2005. Avery was arrested on November 9, 2005. Quote, if Bobby is established as a viable third-party Denny suspect, The forensic evidence in this case is completely undermined, end quote. Zellner implored the court. Quote, the newly discovered evidence that Bobby was in possession of Miss Halbach's vehicle means that he had opportunity and access to plant evidence in the vehicle and from the vehicle. Because Bobby has been directly linked to the murder of Miss Halbach, there is a reasonable inference that he planted the bones in Mr. Avery's burn pit. This new evidence creates a reasonable probability that had the jury heard the new evidence, it would have had a reasonable doubt as to the defendant's guilt. Therefore, Mr. Avery should be granted a new trial, end quote.
Awesome. Thank you so much there, Katie, for reading. That's all I've got for today, but oh my God, there's a lot to go through. Do we have any comments?
I have a comment in regards to Mike Osmundson's physical appearance and description. Don't come for me on this one, but maybe a year ago or so, there was a picture of Mike Osmundson's dad, father, I think snatched from Facebook, floating around, and he was older, bigger in stature, and had a long beard. Just saying. Because, why am I saying this? Because Mike and Bobby were extremely tight, and it was said that Bobby spent a lot of time with the Osmundson family at their house doing stuff. Just saying.
Yes. Thank you, Avery. Now remember.
Rock, you remember that? I mean, the picture.
Yes, no. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And again, guys, we're speculating. Everyone has a presumption of innocence, and we're not saying that Mike Osmundson or his dad had anything to do with anything. All right? We're merely repeating what Kathleen Zellner has put in her latest filing, right? Things to consider. It clearly can't be Stephen Avery. He's not a tall guy, and Tom Sawinski never mentioned, as far as I'm aware, Stephen Avery. He said
it wasn't. It wasn't Stephen, or
it wasn't Stephen Avery. Correct, and it wasn't Brendan Dassey. Tom Sawinski directly later on named Bobby Dassey, but he doesn't know the identity of the person that we affectionately call Santa. The implication is because Bobby Dassey hangs around his hunting buddy, Mike Osmundson, that somehow either Mike or his father or somebody is involved as well. We do not know, okay? And that's pure speculation, right? Thank you, Neville. Do we have any additional comments?
Well, again, for us, we're just imparting what the Court of Appeals has told Zellner that she can do. And I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention what Judge Angie did in her denial of Zellner's brief, and the reason we're at the Court of Appeals now. She's basically saying, well, so what? Bobby had her possession of her car a few days after she goes missing. And I know my jaw. It took me a couple of days to get my jaw before that she'd make this kind of a statement, and it's not even questioned. It's like, hey, big deal. Nobody saw him with her key. Nobody saw her with her electronics. And I'm just thinking that in any reasonable judge under reasonable circumstances, it would have been better if she hadn't made those comments at all as some kind of justification. They looked awful, Doc. They looked awful.
They do. And it's provided Kathleen Zellner with plenty of ammunition now.
Oh, yeah.
But you can now see we've gone full circle. We spent more than 2 hours looking at the encounter, Stephen, Bobby, Teresa, and we looked at the state's case. And the state's case is neither Teresa or her RAFO ever left. We've just talked about John LeQuern seeing a green SUV, mid-side SUV, drive past him. if he didn't turn back his clock.
And I don't think that's an unreasonable thing. I mean, daylight savings time, and
I've done it myself. I've done it
and
myself.
you think back in that time frame, a lot of our electronics and digital analog devices, you had to go reset the clock. The car was just one more pain in the ass, and I didn't deal with it. I didn't fool with it either.
Correct. So again, and plus now, if Tom Sawinski's observations are correct, and also other witnesses that have seen the RAV4 at the turnaround and other locations, it's starting to look pretty bad. And, so now Kathleen Zorner is putting all this evidence together to say, Bobby Dassey, the state star witness, is indeed a viable Denny suspect. And Judge Angie is saying, no. You haven't met all the Denny prongs, etc., etc. But Kathleen Zorner has counter-argued to say, you're wrong on the law. You're wrong on the facts. You're wrong on the Denny, right? And hence the latest was that Kathleen Zorner's reply got rejected because it was 5 pages over or something like that. So she has to resubmit. Yep, she has to resubmit a brief because it was over the word limit. All right. Well, look, guys, that's all I have. We covered a hell of a lot in today's podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. And again, guys, thank you so much for your great questions and for your support. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and put your DNA on the thumbs up button and share our podcast. Do we have questions? Or
we do. Yeah, I'm gonna let Rhonda take care of that because we really screwed people over last week. And I don't want to do it again.
And we have 23 or ish questions that I've starred. We're not gonna take any more questions now in the chat. If you have questions beyond what's already been asked, then please come to Discord and ask us there, because somebody would be happy to talk about it with you. So Clive Coolidge asked, Tom Baresh seen Bobby driving the RAV4 before Tom Sawinski saw Bobby and another man pushing the RAV4. Both men's evidence ties in. I think this is huge. I don't know if that's what it's Q in front of it, so I started.
Yes, it is. It is, because what it does is it places the RAV4 in proximity of the Avery salvage yard. And I think with Baresh, he saw it on County Q, which incidentally is where Travis Growell was, near the rock crushing machine where on October the 31st, remember, he smelt that foul odor. So Baresh reckons he saw 2 people. I think it was 2 people in a RAV4 on County Highway Q, which places in the same proximity as what Tom Sawinski does, but Tom Sawinski is more potentially damaging because he saw 2 people and he reckons one of them was Bobby Dassey pushing the RAV4 on Avery Road. So both Sawinski and Baresh, they're potentially very damaging because it places the victim's vehicle in proximity of where it was found. Yep. Does anyone have any? Chime in, guys. Don't let me just answer the questions. Everyone chime in.
I have nothing to add, personally. Okay, moving on. Joffrey asked, was the car light broken when she arrived at the Avery salvage yard?
No one, as far as I'm aware, mentions seeing a broken blinker light on Teresa's car. And remember, what's incredible is that Tom Pierce took that photograph, and it would have been a fairly recent photograph of Teresa standing in front of her RAV4 with her photographic gear. You could clearly see that the light is intact. So somewhere between when that photograph was taken to when the RAV4 was photographed on November the 5th, there's a broken blinker light in between, right? And that's why they want to get the odometer reading to determine how far Teresa Halbach has traveled in that time, because I think Jack 61, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but they've got a docket that showed that Teresa Halbach went to a petrol station to fill up her car.
Yes, it was one of her receipts from her bank record. Yeah, we have the bank records. Yep, absolutely.
Correct. So no one notices a broken blinker light.
And if I'm not mistaken, Ryan is the only one who apparently knows about this broken blinker light.
That's correct.
He was the one who mentioned it.
Right.
That's correct.
Yep. Okay, Nan's Life 7 says, do you think zipper voicemail was tucked into a safe place to never be found again?
Does someone want to answer that? Speculation, of course.
I speculate it's completely gone altogether. My personal speculation.
Is it true that Dennis Jacobs is the one that did the recording?
The zipper voicemail?
The zipper of voicemail.
Yeah. No, allegedly, according to Dettering's report, I guess he and Jacobs went back over to the zippers on November 6th, and he made the recording. Again, I guess the implication here for me is a little strange, because why didn't Remaker do the same thing with the zipper voicemail as he did with Barb's voicemail?
Yeah.
He recorded it on his phone, had a movie of it. So, but allegedly it was Jacobs. He never writes a report. He never mentions it. Only Dettering.
Yeah. I dare say, unless a man miracle occurs, you're not going to hear that voicemail again.
No, we'll never hear it.
It's gone. Because if it's time stamped, it could potentially be exculpatory for Stephen.
Right.
Well, and what she says in the actual message, which we've speculated to death, and we can't prove anything, but the implication is it's gone and never heard. That's a problem for me.
Yes.
Well, and we also know that she's familiar with where Stephen lives, and so for her to be asking, saying, I can't find your place. What is your address again, or whatever the words are completely like, it just doesn't make sense, because she knows where Stephen lived.
Yep.
So.
Correct.
Okay, Anthony Hill says, I think we've probably already answered this by now. What color was Teresa's RAV according to Stephen, Bobby, and the propane truck driver?
That's a very interesting question. I think Stephen said it was a green color. Bobby Dassey said it was teal. And the propane tank driver said it was green.
Yeah.
Interesting, right?
Okay, and Kay asked, was every item in the RAV inventoried? We don't know.
We have a list, but
correct.
Again, there's a lot of speculation behind that, I suppose.
Correct. Allegedly, yes. But if you believe that the key came from inside the RAV, then somehow that got missed, because I only found the lanyard and not the key. Pure speculation, of course. Correct.
Okay, I thought this was a really interesting question from Anthony Hills. Why is Stephen's blood found on the seat where Brendan sits, supposedly?
Well, that's a very good question, because if you have a look at the crime scene photographs, there's a CD case as well that's got apparently 50% coverage in blood. And also there are plastic bottles, water bottles. Apparently Brendan Dassey sat on that seat, the passenger seat, which means that he would have potentially got blood on his pants. None were found, and he would have crushed the water bottles. According to Kratz, in convicting a murderer, his hypothesis is that Stephen cut open his finger after bringing the RAV.
Jesus H. Christ.
Correct, because the question is, why isn't there blood all over the steering wheel and items in the car where you normally drive a car? And they can't answer it. So his hypothesis now is Stephen cut open his finger after they dumped the RAV, and as he was leaving the RAV, going from the driver's seat to the passenger seat, he was going drip, drip, except he left no blood on the door to get out, and he left no blood on the ground. So Stephen selectively was actively bleeding, conveniently in the RAV, and then stop.
Yep.
Done.
Tourniquet
And then
time.
he dropped
Tourniquet
some
style.
flakes. Yeah.
Yes, correct. Correct.
Oh, okay, another question from Anthony Hills. Does Brendan ever mention Stephen opening and being at the rear passenger door? I don't remember, but
I don't recall that one. I know that Brendan mentions the fact that they put Teresa Halbach in the back of her own RAV4, but he also said that they shot her in the RAV4 until we said, no, you never did that. Oh, that's right. We took her out of the RAV4 and we shot her on the garage floor. So what Brendan said doesn't make any sense at all. Correct.
Okay, I don't recall.
I don't recall.
Was the blunt and bloody object something they stated in the search warrant they expected to find wherever they were asking to search? She can't remember how it was worded.
Well, I can take care of that.
Yep. Yeah, go for it, Jackson.
Let me.
And while Jack's looking for that, Alligator 57 asked, what time did Bobby say he left?
Well, at about the same time, Stephen said that he saw Teresa turn left. So about 2:40, 2:45. And that's why Ken Kratz went, when did you leave? At the same freaking time. Yeah. So about 2:40, 2:45.
Okay.
Yep.
Next question by Hugh Fraser. I have the impression that someone, a juror maybe, wanted to visit Avery salvage yard and that request was denied. Is that strange?
I must admit, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yeah, me neither. But if they went over there, they would have totally gained a clear picture of what was going on, and they would have found all kinds of casings, and they would see the distances, and they would see everything what they needed to know. That none of it made sense.
Correct. Yeah, good point. Good point. And by the way, before Jack 61 continues, in the Murdoch trial, that was the game changer. The jury going out to the property.
Yes.
That was a game changer.
Absolutely, yes.
Because one of the jurors, they interviewed him and they said, yep, once I went out there and I saw the room where allegedly Murdoch shot his son, because I saw it all. I saw the whole thing pan out, that the whole thing was doable. And the fact that they never went to the Avery salvage yard was a huge, huge miss, in my opinion.
Right.
Next 61.
Yeah, this is the number 11 from the unfiled disturbed earth warrant in Wiegert's affidavit. And he's talking about Steve Harrington and this. And a lot of this information was imparted in the Fassbender DCI report. Because he's the one that actually had the conversation, as far as we know. If Wiegert had a conversation with him, it's not documented, but that doesn't mean anything. But Steve Harrington, well, I've got it underlined. Steve Harrington further indicated that technicians also located visible palm prints on the rear hatch area of the Toyota RAV4. There was also a blunt instrument upon which blood was found located in the rear of the vehicle. So there you go.
Gone. Like magic. Gone.
Yep.
Disappeared.
No testing.
Okay.
No lab reports. Nothing.
Gone.
No other detail. No other information. Just
no. Well, again, a member of the community, through the community, As soon as this hit, they wrote the DOJ wanting, well, basically demanding what the hell happened to this blunt bloody instrument. And I can tell you, I've seen this chain. It was emailed to me. There's 100+ emails in this chain of emails of it bouncing all over hell in a handbasket with no answers. None.
No. And where the hell they're going to get something like that out of thin air? Right? Come on.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. They're not going to just make up some bullshit story like that. That's significant. That's it. And it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Very significant. And like you guys said earlier tonight when we were talking about it, if that blunt, bloody object tested positive for anything about Stephen or Brendan,
front page. Yep.
Absolutely. It would have been breaking news. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's they found the murder weapon.
That's
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But here's a problem, right? That makes Brendan Dassey's narrative complete utter bullshit.
That's right.
Correct.
Which is why that had to disappear.
You bludgeoned someone over the head, you probably killed them. Right. And then they did all these things in Stephen's bedroom. And no. Yep. Not going to happen.
Anthony Hills, another question, says, was that object on the right veranda obstructing Bobby's view, I believe, in the house?
I think he was talking about the barbecue. There's a barbecue on the front veranda. It probably would have been a little bit of partial obstruction, but it's quite clear. It's quite clear that if you're standing and the good thing is we saw the video of the detectives walking into the house. There's a very limited view that you can see outside. You can't see Stephen's trailer, right? So Bobby would have had a limited view. Would he have been able to see Teresa and her RAV4? No problems. Photograph his mum's van? No problems.
I'm just going to chime in over here. I know that Bobby didn't intend to listen or hear the screams from Teresa from the trailer, as Kratz put it creatively. However, by the time he came back from hunting.
Yep.
And by the time he left for work, he would have smelled something, wouldn't he? Whether he was intending to do that or not.
And no one did.
And no one did.
No one did.
And
I think it would have permeated the entire area.
It's like,
burning
what
a body?
The hell is this? Yes.
Yeah, what's that smell?
The only, and what's even worse is that if Robert Fabian and Earl Avery are correct, that they were right at the burn pit on October the 31st, they could have got the day wrong. They didn't smell anything either, right? But you see, then that brings in Travis Growell, who smelt something nefarious, something he'd never smelt before on, I think it was around about 6 o'clock, something like that, right? And then it starts to bring in Bobby Dassey returning back, like you just said, Neverly. And remember, there were people coming and going, right? People coming and going, trick-or-treating, Barb, Scott Tadich. No one mentions a smell, right?
Exactly. Which is a major, I think this was like the biggest oversight on the planters and conspirators part.
Except Travis Growell. Yep, except Travis Growell. Yeah. The trouble is the wind wasn't blowing in Travis Growell's direction. It was going away.
And he's the farthest one away from the area.
Yeah, he's on the other side of the Rodot pit, Corey.
Oh, it's like you cooking dinner, right? And nobody in your house smells what your mum's cooking.
Garlic and bacon.
But a guy in the other suburb comes over knocking on your door saying, "Oh, jeepers, that garlic, that barbecue smells really good." Nah, it's bullshit.
Bacon.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Exactly. Okay, Anthony Hills. Yeah. Anthony Hills, is DOJ required to investigate Bobby for possession of child pornography? Yeah, well, in most places in the country, yes, that would have been required.
Like I said, in Australia, that underage porn would have got you in prison.
Yeah.
Just the possession of the underage porn. Doesn't matter if it was one image or 1,000. You're in massive trouble. And in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but didn't John Ferak write an article that the DOJ received criticism for failing to act on, internet crimes against children. There was a
Yeah,
lot of controversy.
I remember. I remember that vaguely. I do.
Yep.
And I can't remember. It wasn't. I'm pretty sure they've changed the punishment now. I'm pretty sure in 2005 it was. I won't say it's nothing, but the punishment wasn't nearly as stiff. They stiffened the punishment. Your jail time over each image. It's so many months or whatever per image. Yeah. Yeah.
And here was clear, undeniable evidence of
Yeah.
horrible, nefarious material. And what did they say? Nothing of evidentiary value. And not only that, Judge Angie said, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
A couple of nasty stuff. I'm thinking to myself, holy shit! In Australia, you're doing prison time.
Oh, and most states are doing most states here. You're doing prison time too.
Yeah,
And
most of
a
America
judge-
you are too.
A judge basically goes, "No, don't worry about it. Bobby's pushing a RAV4, the victim's vehicle. Don't worry about it."
And then Angie wants for Stephen to provide a witness that Bobby was doing that. Hello?
Correct. And also for Bobby to have shown the keys and the electronics.
Yeah.
And for a witness to say, I saw Bobby Dassey downloading and viewing this porn.
Yeah. It raises the bar so high that no one could ever pass it.
Correct.
Exactly.
No
But
one.
if you're doing that, you are not having a groupie.
Well, if Stephen Avery was able to do that, Stephen Avery would have been home with his parents.
Yeah. No doubt.
No doubt. Yep. It's ridiculous.
And and if Stephen Avery had viewed that, had that on his computer, I
Gone.
believe that.
Gone.
Yeah. I mean, it
We'll
wouldn't have
talk
even
about that
been
next week.
It hanging by his balls.
Yeah, that would have
Correct.
been a huge part of the trial. So, okay.
Correct.
All right, we've got about 8 more questions to go. Myra Pennington asks, did they ever give the date that the files labeled Teresa H, Stephen A, etc. were made?
That's a good question.
Don't know.
No, I have to
I
look
think
at the report.
if I'm remembering correctly, Doc, everyone, that folder was in a.
In the hidden. Was it hidden?
No, it wasn't hidden. It's a.
Was it reserved? Or was it a special name? I remember we covered it.
Yeah, it's not. It's not Damn, my brain just went. It's a space on the hard drive that's unnamed, so the dates don't. I'll think of the name after we're done, but it's like a unprocessed area of the hard drive. The information's still there, but there's no real information as far as dates attached to it.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
I remember that.
Good question.
Yep.
Okay, TJ Anderson said, did they get the computer back that had that crap erased but recoverable on it? Is what I wonder as a tech.
Well,
I don't know. I'm going to be quiet about it.
Well, you guys have to remember that the DOJ, when they retook the hard drive out of that computer, out of Bob's computer, that they kept it for 149 days for some reason. They could have ghosted it on the spot. A tech could have ghosted that hard drive on the spot, but they kept it for 149 days. And, am I saying that they did something nefarious to that hard drive? Well, I kind of am, because there's no reason for them to have kept it that long. In my mind, did they? I can't prove they did. But why would they keep it so long? What's the point?
Well, it just makes you ask questions.
Of course it does.
Which is, if everything is, all clear cut and in stone, why do that, and why give people like us cause to question it? I mean,
even if they just kept it for a week, I probably wouldn't question it. But for basically for 5 months they kept the damn thing. What the hell are they doing with it?
Right, all they had to do was do a mirror, an image of
That's
the
right.
hard drive and give it straight back.
Yeah.
And don't forget, after Zellner was asking all those questions, we've got the recording where the detectives go back and get the computer from Bob. They get it again. Yep. And
Well,
I
that's
think,
the time. That's the time I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly.
all right. Okay. And I could be wrong, but I think it was Brad Dassey who mentioned the fact that Bob wanted someone to erase or clean
Format,
up the computer.
reformat it because it had viruses on it.
Correct.
Barb asked Brad. Yeah, she had asked Brad to do it.
Correct.
Okay, Trav asks, could they have not pulled them? And this was back when we were talking about her Teresa's fingerprints. Could they not have pulled them from the Auto Trader magazine? Well, they could have, but they
Probably.
That's not a chance they wanted to take either.
No.
Correct. I don't think whether any type of fingerprinting was done on the Auto Trader magazine, but it was seized as evidence on the 5th by Remica. Yep, but I don't know whether they did any analysis or not.
If
I don't think they did,
we
though.
don't know about
I
it.
don't think.
No.
Yeah, if they did, they didn't report it that I can remember.
No.
Okay, Lisa Hargreaves from Facebook. Thank you for watching from Facebook.
Thank
if you're
you.
still with us. Did Bobby possibly leave before Teresa and before the truck driver pulled in? You might have touched on that.
Yes, but
That's a possibility.
it is a possibility. But remember, you've got all these events that are starting now to build up as, oh my God, the timing has to be astronomically, well, you would have to have Bobby exit, the propane tank driver come. You would have to. No, I can't see how that works.
Yeah,
There's a propane
the way
tank
we
driver.
discussed it.
Yeah, the propane tank driver had to have been there filling up his truck, which meant that possibly the only way that I can see him missing Bobby Dassey was if the guy was outside the truck, either
On the other side.
or
On the other side. Yeah, just didn't
Correct.
see it, didn't notice it.
and didn't notice it coming out. That's the only way.
Possible.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the only way I couldn't.
So
And
there's your possibility, I
Yep.
suppose.
So when he went back in his truck, because he said he just sat in his truck waiting for the propane to fill up his truck, he goes, "Oh shit! I noticed the green SUV drive past me."
Right. And and Bobby and his Blazer were already gone because he was busy back there hooking shit up.
Yep. It's a sort of like out of sight, out of mind, which is exactly what I reckon happened with Bobby back when Teresa arrived. Because he was distracted and was doing other things, he never saw the encounter. The same thing could have happened with the propane tank driver, which meant that he was distracted doing something else, maybe at the pumps. The Blazer drives out, gets back in his truck. Teresa drives past him, right? So, like I said, if you adjust the time by 1 hour, the whole thing fits. And that means that because it only took half an hour, he leaves before the bus comes. And that's
right.
It makes perfect sense. Yep.
Okay, 3 more questions. Trav asks, does anyone know if since the boys have been incarcerated, if Brendan had ever been approached and offered a reduction in sentence if he comes clean and tells law enforcement they were actually involved?
No.
No. They wanted to do a plea bargain deal before the trial. So basically, if you testify against your uncle, 15, 20 years, and you're out. And remember, there was all that cadaffle because his grandfather said, "Hey, don't admit to something you didn't do, right? What the hell? You're going to admit to something you never did?" And
well, isn't there even the call between Barb and Brendan where he talks about it with his mom, and she says, "Brendan, don't." Barb said the same thing in that call, if I remember correctly.
Yep. So. But definitely his grandfather said it. Don't admit to something because it's going to hurt both of you guys. because
Right.
at the end of the day, it will. If Brendan goes, yeah, okay, I did it, well, then that immediately pulls in Stephen, right? So Stephen goes to prison for life for something he never did. Brendan admits to something he never did, but he gets 20 years. His life is destroyed because when he
Yeah.
comes out,
Felon
you
for life.
are a felon for life, registered sex offender.
You're
Right.
done.
You're gone.
Yep.
And don't forget, they did the same thing to Stephen for the 1985 case. Hey, just admit you
Yes.
do it. You get out early. He goes, no, I'm not admitting to something I never did. So he stayed the time until he was exonerated. Correct.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, 2 more questions from Trav. I know the answer to this one, but
Oh, good.
well, I think I know. Was there ever a scream audio test done from Steve's trailer to the Dassey trailer to determine if anyone would indeed hear her screaming or
Yeah, things screaming.
coming from Steve's trailer?
No.
Yeah,
No.
not that I know of. I'd never heard that.
It,
And
it
he
looks like
mentioned-
they're pretty close, though. So I think they would, but
Yeah.
what do I know?
If
Yeah, but Go
yeah,
ahead,
if
sorry.
you remember what Krat said, that Brendan was able to hear screaming right next to that blue trailer, which is quite a distance away, and he goes, "Oh, you know that he was able to hear the scream." I'm thinking, wait a minute, what the hell? And they asked Brendan. They said, "Did she have a gag?" No gag. So imagine this horrible situation going on with Stephen and Brendan and poor Teresa, and she's not gagged. She's free to yell, scream, bite, spit,
Yeah.
nothing. And no one thought, that doesn't sound right, right? How the hell? You got your victim tied up to a bed and no gag so she can yell and scream and bite and do. The whole thing was ridiculous.
Come on.
But
Yeah.
that's fact checked. They never fact checked. They said, does this actually make any sense? But remember in the murder trial, what did they do? They did the gun simulation, right? Remember how he said, "Oh, I was in my house and didn't hear any gunshots." They actually did testing to see
They
if
did,
someone in the
Yep.
house could actually hear a gun going off, right? And said, "Oh, it was only just audible." Why didn't they do the reconstruction to say, "Well, if Teresa was yelling and screaming, how far could you hear, or could you hear at all?" No, never did it. Good question.
Yeah, good question.
Yep.
And the final question from Anthony Hills: how tall is Teresa, and how tall was the RAV 99 RAV4?
Actually, has anyone got the missing person poster? Because it's actually written on there, her height.
Let me look here and see if I've got it.
Yeah, and I know what Anthony's alluding to, whether that photograph is photoshopped. That was a very, I don't think it is. I reckon it's just due to perspective. But we can see if we can check.
I feel like she was like 5'6" or 5'8", and I don't know why.
Wasn't very
that
tall.
number.
She wasn't very, and nor was Stephen actually. Yeah, he
No.
wasn't very tall either.
Hi. I can hear you.
Okay, she was 5'7", 130 or 135 pounds.
Okay. Yeah, she
There you
wasn't
go.
that tall.
She was
Yeah,
lean.
I don't know what the height of the RAV is. We might be able to find that specification at the.
Oh,
No,
yeah, it'll
top-
be in the manual. It'll be in the book. Correct.
Okay. So I've been away from all the questions that have been asked.
Oh,
and
fantastic. We've gone through the
we're
whole
done.
lot.
We've gone through all the
Fantastic.
questions.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, look, I think we had a really fantastic and fruitful podcast. That was awesome. Let me just quickly go down the list and see how you're coming along and what's going to happen in the next week. Jack 61, what about yourself?
Doing pretty good. For tomorrow's open mic, we're going to continue on with the depositions, and I think we have. What's her name? Remind me again, Rhonda. We talked about this the other night. Sandra Morris.
Oh, yeah.
First.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't remember how long her deposition is, but we'll definitely do hers. And if we can get another one in, we'll do that too. And then I got a request that I've been adding to. I've asked foul play folks, and this request is not really a request. It kind of is, I guess, but this is we're going to be getting a batch of exhibits that we don't have to see what we can glean from those. And there are a number that could be interesting. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But these are things that we do not have. So
Okay.
hopefully this coming week I can get that list completed. That's been probably a month I've been fooling around with it and just looking as I have time.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, if you look through the exhibit list, Coburn took a lot of photos.
Yes,
I mean,
he
a
did.
lot.
Yes,
So
he did.
and probably I know that had one member that wants all of them. I'm sure many of them we already have, but the problem with the photos and the exhibits, these don't always line up what we have as to an exhibit number. So we'll see. I'm still looking at that. Anyway, got that coming up. Still working on the rest of the Jody calls. We'll be getting those, and got a couple of open records requests that have been in the weeds for a long time. I did send again Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday. I sent 2 requests in, one to DOJ, one to CASO, about any kind of status update. I haven't heard anything. Nothing. So we'll see. That's all I
Fingers
got
crossed.
going. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Yep.
Jack61.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Just Rhonda. How about yourself? How are you coming along?
Okay, thank you for asking, Doc. Just as always, we have a live coming up on Thursday at 5 p.m. Central, and we're going to be reading trial transcript from the detective on the Terry Morris accusation, and that was Detective Rocky Gregory.
Oh,
And
no.
he is a fucking joke. Oh my gosh, he's bad. He's really bad. So it's about 117 pages long, but there are just so many lies and inconsistencies throughout it that I would imagine we're going to have some pauses to discuss things because there's just so much to address in the transcript. Yeah, so we're gonna read that on Thursday night, and so I have rolled out. It's official that you can join membership on the channel. And I think so far, that very first night or before we even started, we had 5 that had joined.
Oh, congratulations!
Awesome. Yeah, so pretty exciting. But anyway, so if you're so inclined, go over and subscribe to the channel and join if you would like, and there's a description of what the benefit is of joining, and we'll add more to that as time goes by. But so yeah, and I think that's about all that I have for tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Just Rhonda, and thank you for reading as well. And next we have Katie. Katie, how are you coming on?
Doing all right. I was just digging back into the Terry Morris case again today, like Rhonda said, getting ready for that testimony and cross-checking all of Rocky's lies and perjury, and that's a bear of an accuser, the linchpin accuser. So yeah, join us Thursday night over on Just Rhonda. And I also wanted to say once again, thank you to you and Neverly for putting this together. I know it's a lot of work, and to Jack for pushing the buttons.
Yes.
Thanks so much. And everyone in chat.
Thank you so much, Katie. Much appreciated. Next we have, I don't recall. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for another interesting discussion. Learned a lot once again. Please join us on Monday night for Amy's case by case, where we talk some more about Ashley's Garth's case. Please and thank you.
Thank you so much. Yep, very interesting. Thank you so much. Who we got a new panel member or what? Who's
We do.
who's that? Are they able to talk?
I'm not sure if they're able to talk or not, Doc.
Hi.
No, what? Not you, Neverly. There's somebody above you. Are you able to talk?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, you've got
So
a deep voice, Miss Wacom.
What the hell? How are you coming along?
I'm coming along fine, thank you. And this week I will be investigating German shepherds,
Really?
Wow.
spoons,
Sorry.
shites, and the passing thereof. Thank you very much for a great podcast. Thank you, folks.
Thank you so much. Oh, that was very interesting.
Very.
All right. Yeah, very interesting indeed. And the final person on the panel today is Neverly. Neverly, how are you coming along?
I'm doing great, actually. What a great podcast. Boy, I felt like we were in a classroom, by the way. The way you present your knowledge and your research, I have a pen and paper as always, and I'm taking notes. So
Well, you
no,
helped
it
me
was
put it
really good.
together.
I know, but more notes always because the chatters are just on point, man. They're on
Oh,
point
yes.
with questions
yeah.
and comments. So thank you guys so much. And of course, our super mod, Katnit, is always there to link up anything you want. You just ask her and she provides. That's
Fantastic.
awesome. I
Yep.
promised Andy B that I'm going to remind you, Dr. Silkman, that you promised us a picture of yourself with long hair and a guitar.
Do it next week.
Okay.
I'll send it to Jack 61. I deny, I plead the fifth. Yep. No, awesome. Yep. No, again, guys, thank you so much for everyone in chat. And again, thank you for your fantastic support. It's not easy doing these podcasts because it's a very emotive issue and involves real people. And it's very, very hard. It's not easy at all. But we have to present it. Kathleen Zona is trying to put this in front of a judge. And it's very, very topical. And like I said, we spent a couple of hours, talking about the interaction between Bobby, Teresa, Stephen. There doesn't have to be anything nefarious. Nothing whatsoever. It's Ken Kratz that I believe caused a lot of trouble, especially for Bobby. But again, guys, we would like to thank all of our supporters, our super mods. Thank you so much. And everyone on the panel for your great wisdom and time. And guys, if you like, please subscribe, put your DNA in the thumbs up button, share our podcast. And guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much, guys. My name is Dr. Silkman, and I'm from the Foul Play team. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. This has been a Foul Play production.